All right, hello everybody. We're back with another game from the Tomb of Annihilation West March campaign that Chris, the RP Ginger, set up. Today we have Menez, Bjorn, Gar, and Eveleg, the elf, with us. We're going to be doing a mission that the gentleman found out, or sorry, Menez and Bjorn found out about on one of their last quests about a giant set of dragon bones south of the ship of Narwhal, the shipwreck of Narwhal. We're going to be starting off. They're going to be going close to the Kitchener Inlet. So we have Ordame with them and her crew. And they've also decided to bring along Kawasha, the druid guide, that, in all honesty, I don't know much about. So I'm just going to be winging her, or him, sorry, for today. Any continuity with the game in the previous or future will have to pardon my experience of Kawasha the Druid. All right. So as we start off, I'm going to take a little bit of a liberty here, just because I'm a little bit experienced with the previous backstory of Menez. We have three of our adventurers, Eloeg, Gar, and Bjorn, on Ordame's ship in the docks of Neon Zaru. It was a beautiful day. It's around 5, 6 o'clock in the afternoon now. Sky is pink as the sun starts to go down slowly. They know that this is a sign of storms or bad weather ahead. Ordame has not a nervous look on her face, but a knowing look, a look that she knows that she's going to be in for possibly some rough waters. The boat starts slowly moving forward. The water's calm as glass. You can see the giant dragon turtle shell of Arameg in the Bay of Chalt. Other ships are coming in from their day of fishing. They're passing and waving at you. Ordame looks to all of you. So, we're going back on the water again, eh? I know all of you, which is nice. I can trust all of you, which is nice. Where are we heading today, boys? Oh, sorry. And Menez. Where are we heading today?
So on our last expedition, well, actually it wasn't the last one, but we went to Kitchener's Inlet for the searching for the narwhal, and at that place we heard about a grotto that we wanted to go and explore. So if that's where we want to head back.
Oh, so back to the inlet. All right. Hope we don't see that damn sea serpent again.
Likewise.
Well, let's go out, and might be some rough waters ahead of us. We'll see what's going on. Hey, Eloeg, it's been a long time. How you been? That's from Ordame to you, Eloeg. Not sure if you know you're on mute or if you're just not talking.
Menez shouts down to him because Menez was up in the crew's list, which which Gar normally takes. And he's saying, "Eloeg."
Sorry, I was away. Can you repeat? I lost just the few last words.
Absolutely. Ordame was just greeting you and asking you how you've been and what you've been up to in the days that she's seen you last.
Well, she should already know, because I spent 35 downtime days learning from her navigation tools and working on the ship.
Yeah, her familiarity with you is definitely known now. So I haven't seen you for at least 6 hours. I mean, geez, where have you been?
Okay, I have to resupply and prepare for this adventure. So here I am again. I'm ready for whatever is needed.
The boat starts to edge forward. the crew of the Ordomé ship start to bring the sails down, and the ship gathers speed. You're coming up to the point, the most northern point of Chult at this point, and all of a sudden the waves are starting to build. They're not rolling yet, but the water is definitely not glass anymore. The sun has gone down just a bit more, and the sky, other than this wonderful shade of pink, is starting to gray over in the far west. You can tell that something's coming, but you don't know how long away or how far away it is. As Ordomé surveys the water in front of her, she points to the group and she says, "You're not too far away from the point of the land of Chult at this point, the most northern point of Chult." So she looks and she says, "Hey, isn't that your friend? What's her name? That's Menez, right?" And I was supposed to introduce Menez off of the boat around the corner, waiting for everybody to show up. So
absolutely. Sorry, I'll take back what I just said. So absolutely. So she's in her this rickety canoe. It's not her own actually, and she basically starts paddling out as best she can. And you see that she's like really struggling. With as the waves are like just really picking up and just sloshing over it. It looks like there's no way she can actually make it to the ship. As she's making her way as best as possible, just like this.
Bjorn is gonna run besides on the edge of the boat and ready a rope to throw at Menez as soon as she gets closer.
Ordomé will steer the ship a little bit more towards an angle to intercept Menez, but she can't get too close as the ground underneath Menez and the water is starting to rise.
Gar will jump over the side of the ship and fly out to meet Menez, and will not really land on her canoe, but will kind of tie a rope around maybe the front part of it, and then we'll start trying to guide Menez back to the ship.
Absolutely, and with the help of Gar's rope and the strength of Gar's wings, Menez has a better chance, and she like really fights as best as possible to as she nears the side of the ship, as it's almost like snaps into the side. Sorry.
With the two of you working together, Menez is able to bring her canoe up to the side of the ship. Gar lands back on the deck, and a ladder is thrown down to Menez. But you shouldn't have any problems climbing up the side of the ladder. The boat's not rocking very much. But as you come onto the ship, I guess you would have to greet your companions. Ordomé says, "Hey, you made it. I'm glad your friend there has got a nice set of wings."
Great to be back, she says, and she looks over at at Bjorn and says, "You doing okay?"
I think Charles just stepped out for like 1 second. He said, "Be right back" in the chat. So
yeah, absolutely. And she goes up to him and she embraces him, and he's a little bit like you know, Menez never does this type of thing, but she embraces him and looks over to Eloig and nods and says, how have things been?"
Hello. Well, not bad, but I am pretty comfortable on my skill set to help in this mission. But how about you?
She pauses for a moment, and she looks. Her gaze looks back towards the direction where you guys have already sailed from, and it almost like snaps out of it. And then she says, she puts her hand on your shoulder and she says, "If I remember rightly, you were pretty good with navigation. Am I right?"
No, I was. Who are you talking to?
I'm talking to you.
Okay. No. I was with maps, but recently I was training and I added navigation to my skill set. So yeah, I will. It will be certainly be. I will be certainly be uh, helpful on that regard.
Yeah, the navigation can be a bit tricky. It took me a while to get the hang of learning from the stars and different things, but it comes. It comes, she says. And then
Yeah.
she just the last thing she's going to do is she just gets the rest of her equipment and tries to find the best way with two of the other sailors to pull up the canoe so as to be able to use it on the way out when we go.
Yeah, does anybody want to help pull up that canoe with Menace?
Yeah, I'll give her a hand for sure.
All right, Menace, give me a strength at advantage, or even athletics at advantage. I guess would be the same thing.
So she gets 17, 18, 19 with, of course, the help of Björn and two other sailors that were just around.
All right, the canoe comes up the side of the boat quickly, easily. You're able to tie it and secure it. No damage at all. The oars are intact. All of your things are still in it wonderfully. And Ordomé again starts to head forward, full sail. As the night starts to come down, the storm starts to creak in. The rain slowly starts to fall on you. Ordomé says to her crew that if they want, they can go down below. She should be fine. She motions to all of you to go down and eat. In about an hour, the cook will have all the food out, laid out for you. Ordomé has no problem staying up top by herself. She knows that the storm is 4 or 5 hours away. It's probably around 6 o'clock now as you move forward. I would imagine you all go down at the mention of food. The smell from the galley as the cook is bringing together enough food for, at this point, probably 16, 17 people on board. Prepared a wonderful meal, roast boar, caramelized apples, beautiful root vegetables from Chult that he was able to scrounge. He's got a little bit of rum, not too much, but he's got a whole barrel of homemade on the boat beer that he's been brewing for a couple of months now, ready to go. The crew is celebrating at the fact that they're not on port anymore, as for a long time now, anybody on a boat would know after you get your sea legs, you don't really enjoy being back on land for long periods of time anymore. So they're celebrating and having a really nice time at dinner, possibly drinking a little bit too much. At the dinner table, Ordomé finally comes down for a minute. She looks to all of you and says, "Hope you're enjoying the food. Should take about another day to get to Kitcher's Inlet. You guys should be used to that. After this, if you want, the crew can come back up and you can get some rest. But, enjoy some drinks. Everything should be good tonight. Nothing really seems to be bothering the water, and with a storm rolling in, everything really dangerous goes deep."
Well, if there's anything I can do to help on the deck, feel free to ask me, and I'll do whatever I can. And thanks for the food as well. And Bjorn will definitely join in on the beer drinking and the food eating.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much. That's kind of you.
You see that with Menez's, when the food came out, she's just devouring the food. I mean, it's really clear that, she just dives into the food and the drink. She's been drinking for like quite a while, actually. And when Autumn had come in, and after she had said this, she was like, I mean, you could see she's a bit drunk, actually. And she's like, Autumn, to the rock gnome, she's like, you're not gonna join us here? Come on, you gotta join us for a while, surely. He says as she wipes her hand across the skull.
Somebody's got to steer the boat. Jeez.
What's your first mate? Let him do it. Come on. A drink. What are you saying? She looks at the rest of the sailors and her companions as she takes up another one of these
Mug.
Whatever they're called.
Mug.
And she's like, you got to drink with us, please.
Oh, not tonight.
Captain, I can do it.
Maybe on our way back. What was that, Elevec? I'm sorry, I missed it.
Yeah, I can do it if you need to take a short break. I can help you out. You know that.
You see, of course. Oh, come on, He's been working. Eloig's worked so hard, and she knows she can take it.
I'll tell you what. After this much time spent with Eloig, I trust her at the helm. All right, I'll come down for a few drinks. If you want to go to the boat, you go ahead.
Yeah, I'll be back. I'll be back when I'll be back. Bye. And he moves back to.
Bjorn will cheers and hand a mug of ale to Ordime.
Ordime gladly at this point accepts it, and the small gnome goes to the far end of the table, pulls up a special chair and sits down and slams the beer stein on the table. Well, this is different. Never really been down here while we're sailing. Kind of cool. So how you guys been? It's been a while. Wow, only a couple of days, but anyway, you having fun in Schultz so far?
Fun would be one way to describe it, I guess. Gar says as he grabs one of the flasks of ale and drinks it real quick. Decides it's not for him, so he goes back to his water skin for the rest of the night. But he will definitely eat some of the food that's provided.
It is a little dangerous in Schultz, I'll give you that. I'm glad you're enjoying the food. If you don't like that beer, I can always pull out the rum.
I'll stick with my water, thanks.
All right. Well, what about you, Menace? How you like being on the run? I noticed you slipped off the boat last time pretty quick.
and
even will laugh at the mention of Menace disappearing on last time, because he was a little bit frustrated at first, thinking that she had simply abandoned them, but after seeing all the flaming fish, he had understood that she was just like trying to help them, because it would have been a fight they wouldn't have won.
And even as Ultimate like shouts her over to the other side of the table, Menez doesn't even hear, because Menez is like with the first mate and these other two sailors that had helped with the canoe, taking the canoe up, and she's already like on the table, like just hitting out this sort of beat and getting a song going. Like there's an old dwarven song that she had learned when she was on the seas, and she's like trying to like tap it out and like sing along with this thing and getting a song going. They totally don't get the song, and she's singing out of tune and stuff, but she's just like this type of thing.
Ordime is slowly getting into it right with you. She's after a little bit, she doesn't even care what you're singing. She picks up the cadence and she starts to hum along. She finds herself really enjoying the fact that she doesn't always have to steer the boat, and that she has a trusted companion to take over it now, at least for a little while. And at that, actually, Eloig, I'll get you to roll me a, roll me just a perception check then, just to see if things are going well.
Okay. +5. $14.
So the rain started to come down.
Wait. As he's steering the ship, he's talking with his familiar, the hawk, who is in his shoulder, and every now and then make jokes about la 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 la, something the pirates, and Rina answers.
Very cool. Yeah, I was just gonna say the rain's starting to come down a little heavier outside now. The clouds have definitely rolled in. The sun is gone. It's nighttime. It's dark. The waves have built. They're starting to roll with white tops. The wind has picked up. The boat is definitely moving faster now. The wind is at your back. And so far, Eloig is doing a good job navigating. She's moving back and forth from the compass to the wheel continuously, trying to make sure that they stay on course. The boat is drifting a little bit north, a little bit west, a little bit east. but she's always bringing it back, and she's definitely doing a wonderful job getting you to where you want to go safely. She's not getting too close to shore. And every once in a while, you can hear her and the familiar, making their pirate noises and having even a little bit of fun up as well. As the night goes on, Ortome regales you with a few of her stories. Oddly enough, none of them really seem real or even practical to what's going on in your lives right now, but it definitely sounds like she's been around, seen a lot of Chult, not just the waters, but the land as well. Tells you a bit about her childhood, but it's all very vague. She doesn't want to get into specifics, and she's enjoying herself thoroughly. She's had more than enough to drink, as I think Menez has as well. Bjorn, what's with the leg, buddy? That's just weird. She's getting a little rude at this point. She looks to Bjorn with a weird smirk on her face.
Bjorn definitely has had his share of ale as well, so he's not as cold as he might be usually. And he says that my friend is the mark of a warrior, of all the how do you call that, things I have been through here in Chult. So I wear it. Maybe once I have been desperate about it, but now I wear it with pride. And on that note, he stands up, stumps the floor, the ground with his lobster leg, and carries on with Menace songs.
Just for my own personal pleasure, can you explain what it sounds like when you stomp the lobster leg on the floor?
It kind of sounds like a hollow sound. Like it's very loud, but it sounds hollow.
More like a knocking on the wood rather than a...
Yeah, something like that.
That's cool. As you guys continue on drinking, Ortome finally says, all right, well, I've had enough to drink. I need to get at least 2 to 3 hours of sleep before I can hop back up there and the morning comes. I take over for Elovig.
Oh, come on, Ortome. Manessa says, and she's got, she's pissed now. She's got she's puked up at least twice in the corner, and got puke on the side of her face here like this, and she's like, come on, wait. I have a, and then she tries to stand on the table and stumbles off and down onto the floor and tries to get up again. She says, wait, I have a thing specially for you. Everyone, shh, she says. This poem is for you, she says. She says, great cities, untold, ancient and old. Great city, untold, seeking to know, finding the flow. Beneath these gates that I know so well, also known as Hades and Hell. And she just collapsed down onto the floor inside of her puke and stuff.
If anybody, after watching the performance by Menace, looks around the table, they would have realized that Ortome has already gotten up and left. She might have stuck around for a sentence or two, and in straight gnome fashion, she just up and booked it. Now that Menez is basically ready to pass out in the dining room, I would imagine everybody else is ready for bed. They know that there's only a couple of hours before morning shines, and they know that they have a large day ahead of them. As you guys wake up, I'm sure... Actually, screw it. Menez, give me a concept.
Okay, she got 21. Modified 21.
Menez wakes up, and even with a great roll like that, I would imagine she had so much fun last night that she's still feeling quite dizzy. she does definitely have a hangover, but it's not as bad as it could be.
Absolutely.
I will say that I won't be as mean as I was going to be with a 21, but I love drunk people. Okay.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
Sorry. Yeah, she wakes up and she remembers parts of what happened, but not much. But she knows she made a fool of herself, and she knows that she took the opportunity. She doesn't normally drink, even when she was sailing. She doesn't drink, so she went down quite easily, and she knows that she was the reason for this drinking after so many years of not drinking at all. Is she's fucked, and she knows she's fucked. Actually, she didn't think that before. But she feels this after the last expedition we had gone on, and an encounter we had with one of these like lizard creatures that had gone into her mind and gone into her heart and brought out fears, amplified fears that were just little doubts before, but made them so real that she was so anyway. So that's why she tried to like drown her thoughts and with the alcohol and stuff, and now she feels just embarrassed and trying to just get her shit together. So she just gets this bucket and just like puts her head in the water and just it doesn't help much, and she goes to look for the others.
As actually Menace doses herself with water, trying to clean off her face and give herself a little bit of a shock to awaken. Eloig, Bjorn, and Gar all come from around the corner. Ordomé has already taken over for Eloig probably about 3 hours ago. Eloig had a small chance to rest. But they come around to the corner, because Mena is passed out in the basically the dining room. She looks over to the table after she doses her head. She feels so bad, and since everyone was so drunk last night, they didn't clean up. Menace just grabs the first piece of meat that she can, grabs onto the bone, and I would imagine starts chewing to see if her stomach feels better. And that's the scene that Elwig, Gar, and Bjorn all walk into. Menace a little bit wet, probably water dripping down her back and front. Looking a little worse for wear, trying to gnaw on anything she can get her hands on.
Bjorn will say, "By Tempest, I thought you'd hold your beer better than that. That's pitiful."
I imagine that used to this kind of movement, he automatically begins to clean up, pick up dishes and use prestidigitation to clean whatever mess he can, and says, this again, whispering or talking to himself.
Wow, it looks like these magic tricks can actually be useful.
Yeah, putting the bone onto the table after she was trying to. It's a thing many people use actually after you've been like drinking like crazy. Is you like eat on something, maybe you can. So, but it's not the time, and she's embarrassed. So she helps clean up the mess that she made.
Gar just kind of looks at Menez, and you see one of the very rare smiles you'll ever see on Gar's face. Just, broad smile, and he's like, "Menez, you were in rare form last night. Not good form, but rare form."
I'm sorry. I'm really sorry. She says, "I'm really sorry."
Bjorn will come over. Bjorn will come over and say, "Here you go. This is gonna get you straight." And he hands her another mug of ale. That's the best cure I know for hangover.
And she puts her hand on your shoulder and she says, "Are you sure? I heard that eating, like if you eat something straight after, I mean, there's so many different methods that people use. Are you sure?"
Look at me. Do I look like I have a hangover? Drink, friend, drink.
She takes a sip of it, but she's looking at you the whole time like, "Sure?" And she takes a bit more. And says, she says, how much of this do I drink?"
Oh, for fuck's sakes.
Yeah, if Elwig hears that, says, you can attempt to sink your sorrows in liquor or wine or whatever you are drinking, but it is not quite effective and it will only give you a headache. That's what I prefer, just to taste a little sip to know how good it is, and really engage in that much of um, festivities with drink.
Hearing that,
Beverage.
sorry. Hearing that and seeing Menes is not very enthusiastic with his mug, her mug, Bjorn will pour himself one and then enthusiastically cheer on Menes while she's drinking, kind of like pouring a bit over her and say, "Don't listen to him. That's not the way to do it." And then he chug his mug of ale.
Yeah, Menez shoots Eloig shoots you a sharp look, you know, of course trusting Bjorn much more, and like in one swill she like knocks it back, but then she looks at you, Eloig, again, and almost and kind of remembers Sienna, another mage, you know, and her face softens, and then she sort of just nods.
All of a sudden, Ordeme's voice breaks the conversation. Everyone to the top of the ship! We need help! Everybody up here!
Elwick stops, puts the dishes where they should be, and readies himself. And okay, let's go.
Now that is the second best cure to a hangover, says Bjorn, running upstairs.
Yeah, Menez stumbles up the stairs behind Bjorn, just like tripping a couple of times, hitting against the side as she follows him.
Gar will follow Menez, making sure that she at least doesn't tumble back down the stairs.
Nice. As you guys reach the ship's deck, you can see all of the sailors, all of Ordeme's crew, lining the edges of the boat, all with spears in their hand, pointing them towards the water. Ordeme has half sail. She's creeping forward, trying to steer back towards the land. She looks over to Eloig. You did a mighty fine job last night. We were only a couple of degrees off. You're getting way better. A little bit more work and you'll probably be right there. But right now we got a problem.
What is it, Captain?
Well, just go look over the edge. You'll see.
Okay, I will look at the edge.
As Eloig, and I would imagine the rest of the group, hears Ordeme say this, and they all quizzically go to the side of the boat. They look down, and Bjorn and Menez immediately recognize the extremely long serpentine body swimming around the sides of the boat, basically encircling the boat as it's moving forward, keeping perfect pace. After a while, you can see the head of this giant serpentine form through the water, the arrowhead-like features of it, drawing back into 4 giant spikes, 2 on top, 2 on the bottom, and its mouth almost down into a hard-shelled beak, as it's just encircling your boat. Well, it hasn't done anything yet, Ordeme says, but it's not really a good sign when this happens.
Does Eliwick know about this kind of creature? Even not the specific.
Roll me a history check, or whatever check you feel would be applied to this, and just explain why.
For that creature, history will be about rumors, arcana, more related to magic, and nature, what he can see about the creature. So maybe history, maybe he can get a better idea of what is being said about the creature.
You can roll either an arcana or a history check, and however your roll is, I'll give you information on those 2 lines.
Okay. 15 history.
As Eloig searches his memories for any information on what he sees in front of him, he comes across information on different other snake-like creatures, giant snake-like creatures, serpentine creatures, but most of them are on land. The only 1 or 2 water serpents that Ulwig can remember are described in the books as nothing like this. So with your history check, there is nothing familiar other than the fact that you know or can relate it to other snakes, the musculature of other serpentine animals like that. But anything else fades from your memory. You can't seem to pull anything out that in reference to this certain species.
Okay, he will shoot in Draconic, hoping to see if the creature is intelligent and can understand. Who are you? What would you want? What are you doing in here? Or
you can tell that even though this creature is 8 to 10 feet underneath the surface of the water, you feel as though it heard your voice. For all you see is its speed up, and its circling of the boat gains momentum. Ortome would shout, "I don't know what you're doing, but he's creating some kind of weird current. It's kind of hard to move forward."
yeah, I was just speaking in Draconic to salute the creature, but I am out of ideas, guys. What should I say, or should we just attack?
Bjorn hearing like whatever Elwig was saying, and he obviously didn't understand, and then seeing the serpent suddenly starting to move faster, will just shout, "Damn that trickster!" And then seeing he's still holding his mug, will throw it on the ground and unsheath, will draw his halberd.
What are Gar and Mena's doing?
I think Gar is actually going to take up into the air, and he's going to start moving up to a distance he think probably, I mean, right now 40 or 50 feet up in the air, but a good distance out from the side of the ship as well. And
Ortome would yell to Gar, "The last time I think you saw something flying, it came pretty close. You might want to be careful."
All right, in that case, he hears Ortome shout that, and he'll move back in, probably pretty close to the crow's nest, and just kind of keep an eyeful watch on what's going on from a little bit higher up point of view.
You remember that, Bjorn and Menez, don't you? The last time, what was it, Sienna's freaking crow was flying, he almost got him.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, I imagine that most of us are looking over the edge at this thing that's circling around on, like, maybe the port side. And Menez takes a step back, not wanting to overstep her authority in any way, of course, but she says to a couple of the sailors, "Get back to your station, get back to the thing," because everyone's just like over there, like watching on the side. So that's what she's doing at the moment.
Gar, can you roll me a perception check real quick?
Yeah, let's see.
And then we'll get to see what your
10.
Gar can tell it's hard for him to see from his height now the head or the tail of the creature. It almost seems as if there isn't one, as this creature is so immensely long. Must be over 100 feet long at least, just encircling this boat. But Gar can't make out any details or features above that. Ortome shouts to all of you again. She looks to Menez and she says, "Yeah, I guess they can go back to their stations. This thing hasn't done anything. He's just really slowing down our forward momentum. I'm a little nervous about putting down the sails. I kind of don't want to run into him."
Ultimately, do you feel that is he speeding up? She says, because she's not by the side now. She's sort of in the middle of the deck, shouting to almost. She says to the rock gnome, "Is he speeding? Is his speed increasing, or is it staying the same?"
It feels like the vortex that he was creating is almost gone. Maybe he slowed down. Maybe somebody can check. I don't know, but it definitely feels like it's not pulling us back to the same spot as much.
And how?
Sorry, go.
How far away are we from the shore?
From the shoreline, you're probably a mile and a half out. You can see it. You can't make any distinct features. You are staying on the curvature of the land, but you're still about a mile and a half out.
Excellent.
I'll turn towards Kawasha and ask him. You said that you knew you knew well the nature around Trove. Do you have any idea what this is?
And Kawasha, being a sullen, private man, finally steps forward at this point, looks to all of you and says, "Of this creature I do not know. I have never seen the likes. But from what I can tell so far, he's only checking us out. His curiosity is stronger than his will to prey."
I will say it is stopping to move, right? Around. Is the creature stopping to moving around and the whirlpool is slowing down?
No, the creature, after you look over the side of the boat, has regained his original speed, just enough to create a few waves around the boat, not to shake the boat in any way. It is hindering the forward movement, but since it's slowed down, the vortex seems to be dissipating.
Okay, so he will shoot something like he will warn, raising his hands, like I'm going to speak, and says to the shouts to the creature in Draconic, "Greetings! Sorry for being rude. My name is Ilwig, and we are wondering if you will let us continue our journey."
Roll me a persuasion. Actually, no, not a persuasion. Hold on. Roll me a religion check.
"21.
As you can see, your voice, the sound waves from your voice even ripples on the top of the water. Even through that, you can see the creature's eye start to stare at you while you speak. As soon as you're finished speaking, the creature unwraps itself around the boat and heads towards land. You can see as it stretches out, its long, serpentine blue scaled body moving away from you. So powerful, you can see the muscles rippling underneath its flesh and scales. And finally is the tail, giant tail with large, giant vertical fins. Probably the fins alone are 30 feet long. Finally goes away. You all feel a sigh of relief as Ordame is able to regain speed.
He thanks the creature in Draconic and says in common that was exhilarating, but I think the creature what the druid said, the creature was just interested in take a peek of us.
Well, I don't know what the fuck happened, but it looks like I'll have to change my opinion about you trickster people. You're definitely more useful than I thought you were.
Menez smiles hearing you say that.
What is that about, trickster? Do you mean wizard? We arcane casters, the delving magic. Is that what you're referring to?
However you call it, you guys don't wield steel and do stuff I don't understand well, but both my other companions, Sienna and you, have proven yourselves useful, so I guess that's the important part.
Thank you very much.
Another day goes by, or sorry, the day goes by, as you guys are all relieved. I'm imagining at this point, Gar has rejoined the crew on the deck.
Yeah,
Roll.
Gar kind of followed along with the ship as it headed in, and he was just amazed at the size of this creature and the sheer power that it had. And he would land back down on the deck and just be like, well, that was definitely something.
As you continue forward, no more issues with anything in the water. Oddly, it seems as though there's nothing in the water around you in this small area as you continue on forward. The day goes by, Ordame relays the information. Well, the thing slowed us down a couple of hours, maybe a half a day. That's not too bad. If it went to left, it could have taken a lot longer. But we should be there in about another 24 then. So the day goes by. Dinner comes again. This time Ordame refuses the invitation to come down. She likes to stay up top. The whole crew is enjoying themselves. The storm, thank God, seems to have passed by you. The rain died down, then left. The sun started to shine again. You're a little bit closer to shore now, but Ordame's sailing true. She knows her passage. She knows where you're heading. As you wake up, excuse me, on the third day, you know that the ship isn't moving forward anymore. Or at least you notice that it's almost moving sideways, and immediately, instinctually, you know that you're anchored. As you make your way up through the galley, up to the top of the boat, the deck, Ordame's standing there, her first mate, her whole crew is bustling around, cleaning, not really doing anything else. The sails are all tied up, the anchor is down. As you look to the, you're pointing south at this point, so as you look to the west, no, north, yeah, as you look to the west, you see the land, the shore of Schult, the shore of the jungles that you recognized. A little bit more south would have been the wreck of the narwhal. You see smoke in the distance. You're not sure if it's coming from where you know to be the camp, or at least Menez knows to be the camp of the Flaming Fist, or if it's coming from the actual location of the wreck of the narwhal. But there is smoke off in the distance. You look to Ordame. She stands there proudly. I got you there again. You know, it wasn't too hard. Other than that giant blue shrimp, I don't even know what to call it. You know, we made it here in good time. That canoe might come in handy. You know, there's Kipler's Point there, and as he points, you see what looks to be the mouth of a giant river heading inland. And that's probably where you need to go then, I think. I don't think you want to go to where that smoke is, so you might want to go around it. That's probably your best option. That river comes back in and, you know, leads out to the Erie swamps. But yeah, you know, hey, we're here. How long do you need me to wait for you?
Was that river, just curious, was that river Orlog that she's talking about?
I'm sorry?
Was that the river Orlog that she's talking about?
I believe it is, yes.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't know. I look over to Koasha and ask him if he has heard about the grotto that we're searching for.
Yes. There was a legend in my people long ago. That green dragon was friendly to my kind.
So
the Batiri goblins ended up killing it. But the dragon, I believe the name of the dragon was Needle, or at least the people told the stories of it as Needle. Ormalagos also sounds familiar, I cannot remember. But anyway, she took out almost the whole Batiri goblin tribe when they killed her. She sat on a great treasure. I do know that. I think I can find this land that you want, this grotto that you speak of. As long as we take the river, I think it's south of the narwhal. Is that right? Didn't you have a diary at one point?
Yeah.
So south is the correct direction then.
That's what we've been told, but we don't know how far from it is. Also,
if we take the river for 2 days, we can cut in, and that should get us around to the smoke. After that, we should be safe to search the jungle and find, hopefully, this grotto that you speak of.
All right.
Minette takes out this map and just like lays it out like on the deck floor, and she points in the direction with the guide and with Bjorn and the rest of the companions and says, "Do you think it goes past here?" And she points towards where Kursabal is, or what is the distance between like 2 days travel?
I believe one hexagon at this point is 100 miles.
Yeah.
Which creates quite the distance. Once you zone into the map really good, I think it gets into a smaller quadrant size. But I do believe that each hexagon right now is about 100 miles.
And how much?
If you are looking at the map, you believe that south from the from where you found the Lion Man would be somewhere around where you see the swamp open up. North of the swamp he speaks of would be a giant rock.
All right. So that probably makes it a week there and back. Give or take.
I think about a week's safe to say. If you guys are going to that spot on the map, and she points to Menez's map, Ordomar. We already came 4 days, so or 3 days. So if you make it there on canoe in 2, and let's say that little hike takes you another 2, well, you should be able to get back in 3 or 4, and then another 3 days. So that whatever that is.
All right, so we'll see you then.
Okay, and her crew starts to unhook the canoe for you and waits to load you before they drop it to the water's edge. Would you guys like to do anything to help the crew get the canoe, or do you just want to make your way to the shore?
Bjorn will go and pack his things that he left in his cabin or wherever he slept.
Absolutely. I'll give you guys a couple minutes to roleplay out the last couple of moments on the boat.
I'm sorry, say one more time.
If you need to gather your things, like Bjorn is from your room, or if there's anything else that you'd like to do on the boat before you head inland to Chult or into the river.
Menace just helps out with the rest of the sailors being a lot more familiar with them, especially with there's actually like 6 more, in her opinion anyway. There's like 6 like new faces that Captain Automate had hired on, because from when we first journeyed there was only 6 of them, and now that there was 12, and I'm guessing there's even maybe more than that now. So she has got to know quite a few of them quite well, and so she sort of just helps out with what they're doing and stuff.
And we help out, check things, prepare himself, and say goodbye to all the sailors and the captain. See you when we see you, Captain.
Yeah, I'll be here waiting for you. And as Menez was going around, the crew would all be shaking her hand or slapping her on the shoulder. It was good to see you. Be safe in the jungle there. What about Gar and Bjorn? I know Bjorn's going to get his things.
Gar kind of checks the little pouch that he has slung around his shoulder, kind of making sure that everything in it's in order. And then he'll fly down. He spends most of his time up in the crow's nest, where he can see a little bit further, and he has a little bit higher viewpoint. But then he'll go down and he'll help get the canoe out, as he can be kind of on the outside of the ship and help lower it down into the water and make sure that the oars don't splash in and float away, or that it doesn't tip over and everything inside spills out or anything like that.
The crew, grateful to with your help, they were starting to struggle with the boat when Gar flies and starts to actually secure and stabilize the whole process. Bjorn, as you get your things, a couple of the crew meet you down in the galley. You know, you should be careful out there. It's gonna be wild in those jungles. I know you guys have been out before, but this is a rough spot. Those flaming fists, that camp, it's a big one. It's one of their training camps. You gotta be careful. Oh, I didn't realize he was gone. Okay, well, as you guys all get your things, you say your goodbyes, you load into the boat without a problem, start moving towards land. I would picture Gar flying behind the boat. Would that be right?
Yeah, he'd be pretty much keeping pace with the boat, maybe a little bit in front of it. Just he can scout out the waters, make sure that they're not about to crash at some just out of sight coral or rock or anything like that.
All right, I'll say that you're successful without a check. I mean, it's the water is very clear, very easy for Gar to notice any deformations in the rocks below and point them out. Who's paddling? Who's steering? The five of you. So
I mean, there's
paddling.
also, yeah, I can imagine Björn and Menez sort of mirroring.
you guys would be paddling. You'd be a little bit crunched into the canoe, but you would all fit. It wouldn't be extremely comfortable, but you know, it's still afloat. The water probably rising to 3/4 up the canoe at this point, rather than what Menez is used to, as only being a quarter by herself.
I would guess Elbow would be steering along with Kawasha's directions.
All right. As you guys J-stroke down the river, Kawatha refusing to really do any work, as his eyes are locked onto the edge of the jungle, glinting to and fro, up and down. He hasn't said a word. His head hasn't moved. His arms are folded in front of him. He's very stoic at this point. He's not really mentioning much as you continue down the river. Finally, he looks to you and he says, well, it looks as though we are safe ahead of us for a bit. Being in tune with nature this much, I've realized that over by that fire to your east, as you guys are slowly making your way down southwest of the river, that fire, there's many things have happened. The forest is at unrest over there. The jungle is at unrest. The animals cry and scream in pain. But it seems as though the worst is over, as things are starting to flee that area. I don't know what's going on. You say the Flaming Fist camp might be over there, but whatever's happening, it can't be good.
For us or for them?
For the jungle itself, for the animals within it. And he goes back to his stoic attitude as you guys continue down the river more. The day goes by. Nothing of interest spikes. The druid in front of you barely moves the whole time. It's almost as if he's trying to get in tune to his surroundings, but he hasn't said much. He's just allowed you to continue down the way. And there's not really much rations, and you guys don't stop at all, so I'm sure that you have to pull into your item bags for this, to eat during the day. I'm sure Gar would be tired after a couple of hours of continually flapping his wings so slowly as he's following this canoe paddled by Bjorn and Menace. The jungle animals are making noises around you. You feel comfortable. You can hear the insects, the birds. Nothing seems to be coming close to the river to drink in front or behind of you, or at least that you can see. I would imagine, who's holding the map at this point, now that I know Menace has one? Since Menace is steering the boat?
Ilwig. I mean, he's proficient in and can read.
All right, Elway, give me a what check? I'm thinking.
Cartographer tools check.
What would you consider to be the best navigation check out of the skill checks that we have?
Navigation. Well, I have. I mean, that's a proficiency with the tools.
No, I know, but
or
I'm
cartographer.
I'm
If only for the skills, standard skills, I will say that um, is it either perception or survival.
You give me a perception check then. Based on the map, trying to figure out what you're trying to do is you're trying to figure out where the best place to disembark the boat and head into the jungle would be.
19.
All right. So as you're searching the map, Elovig and Venice is paddling down. You notice the jungle on the right-hand side of the river is starting to change a bit. You can see different kinds of trees in behind. Trees that are different green, a different build structure, a different branch structure. As the trees are starting to change and get closer and closer to the river's edge, you start to come to this odd U in the river. You can see almost all the way through to the other side, and you can tell it's almost pointless to have to drift around, but Quasha looks to you and says, "No, we must stay on the river. If we leave now and we head into that jungle ahead of us, we will surely be eaten." He looks to Menez and he says, "You should keep paddling down the river."
Menez nods, looks in the direction that the guide had pointed out.
One of the first times you even see Kawasha turn his head this whole journey down the river. It's probably at least taken you 14 or 15 hours so far to get to this point.
Is there any specific that we should be aware in these areas?
There are many things in the jungle of Chult all around us, but here I know that the Batari goblins have left long ago. I believe after their fight with Needle, they needed to rebuild their ranks, so they headed far west. Other than tales of a were beast out here, I know the Flaming Fist. Other than that, it's just the regular dangers of the jungle of Chult.
Is it raining?
No, at this point, the sun is shining. It's a nice day.
Okay.
It turned out well.
He will write down what she's saying. Shh. In his notebook. Thank you very much for the information.
Yes. And he turns back to the trees and starts to stare again. Menez and Bjorn continue paddling. Give me a con save, both of you, at this point, since you've been paddling for so long.
13.
17. Saving throw.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry. This is 14. 15, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21.
You're both extremely in tune with your bodies at this point. You're both very strong. You both know your resistances and your tolerances in the jungles of Chult, and you're still paddling at the same speed. You're moving forward well, and you barely have even broken a sweat. The training of both of you is impressive. As you continue on, the night starts to come. The jungle starts to glow a weird, odd fluorescence on some plants, almost as if they're coming alive at night. The jungle's coming alive. The animals' noises are insane at this point. They're starting to peak. The sun's gone down. The night's come up. You can hear all of the nocturnal animals come out to hunt. You start to see, from some of the odd phosphorescent plants in the jungle, you start to see shadows behind it moving quickly past you. Kawasha looks to all of you. Stern, not nervous, but knowing look on his face. We need to be careful. We need to be quiet. It'll be a long night. You need to stay on the river.
I imagine it sounds like horror movies and the intro of Supernatural. And like bites, and when the creature pulls and the meat it's forcefully separated, he will uh, tap nervously at the boat and the map and says, "Yeah, I think it's good to stay here in the river."
All traces of festivities and fun that Bjorn had on the boat are nowhere seen on his face now, as he's very serious and paddling as silently as he can, and his gaze towards the jungle on the side, knowing very well how dangerous it is, and especially when Kawasha, the guide, told us to be aware of what might be lurking.
Gar is flying, a little bit ahead of the canoe down the river during the day, and he'd go up and he'd get some decent height before he'd swoop back down. But as the sun went down and the creatures of the night came out, he started keeping a lot closer to the boat, and he's pretty much just floating along, gliding, pretty much right behind the boat, pretty much within whisper range of the rest of the group as Kawasha issues his warning, and Gar knows to heed Kawasha's advice that if he strayed even a little bit too far out of the way, then he could easily be caught alone in the middle of the jungles of Chol.
Elwig, with her, with him looking at the map, would commute to you all. We should be where we need to leave the boat by morning. We need to make. Well, you would know. I'll let you say this. You would know that it would take at least another 8 hours before you were able to disembark the boat, Elwig. And definitely Kawasha would look to Gar. It's a good idea to stay just above us. But if anything comes out of the bush, hopefully you can tell us.
Definitely keep my eyes open.
Looking over at Menes, Bjorn will say that since as soon as we get to the shore, we'll have to start trekking through the jungle, and we've been paddling for a long time, so we should take turns trying to sleep a little bit and take some of our strength back, and you can let me take the first paddling turn, I guess.
Yeah, you see that you know that Manessa has been very quiet. She's normally quiet anyway, but just like it's just really kind of thoughtful on this trip. And there's something you can't put your finger on, but there's everything shows that something is a little different than all the other times that she's kind of adventures with you. So even her quietness is there's something about it that just doesn't. That's a little bit kind of strange. And she empties one of her flask of water, opening another and passing it to you to drink. And she says, "Yeah, I think you're right. I need to get some." And then she takes the oar in, as she just said.
Did you guys switch off? I would imagine that would be Gar and Elwig to paddle.
Yeah.
So would Gar come down to help paddle?
Well, we'd switch paddling like one at a time, I guess, unless somebody wants, unless you guys wants to paddle as well. But we're gonna get pretty tight in the canoe.
No, I misunderstood. I'm sorry. I understand that. Okay, so as you guys are switching off, the canoe still lurches forward at a hefty speed. Menes and Bjorn are very strong. You can tell that only one of them is paddling, as every once in a while the front of the boat steers to one side of the river and then back as they correct for every stroke. Night goes by. Washa does not sleep, does not even look down. It's hard for any of you to get sleep. The air was thick of tension all night long. Every once in a while, the voices or the noises from the animals would quiet down to a hush, only to be rejuvenated quickly as whatever came by had passed. As you guys make it to where Elwig suggests that it's time to get off the boat, you start to pull up to the jungle. Nothing in the jungle is making a noise at this point. All the birds are quiet. The morning, the sun has come up, but the jungle has completely died. Nothing. The wind, there's no wind. The water that you are on in the river is just basically stagnant at this point. It's slowly moving forward, but it's been a hard chore paddling this whole way. You definitely get a sense of nervousness coming off of Kawasha as he points to the shore and the best place to disembark the boat. That is where we shall try to make our landing. Can you see it? Do you see where I am pointing? And he points basically straight ahead of you to the riverbank on the east.
Can we see it?
Easily.
Okay.
How far away is it?
20 feet.
Right. Well, kind of dozing off by his side of the boat because it was his turn to stop paddling. I would guess Bjorn will wake up at the hear of the sound of Kawasha's voice, and then graveness would return to his face, and he would pick up the oar and kind of shake off sleepiness off his body, and then start rowing faster after a nod to Menace to notify her of the increase in rhythm to get to the shore quickly.
Gar would fly
sorry.
over Gar would fly over that way, and he'd gain a little bit of height so that he's not right on the shoreline, and he'd probably still stay about 10 feet out until the canoe with everyone else showed up. But he's trying to scout out that area where they're going to be landing.
That brings up a good point. Gar's going to need to roll a con save for 18 to 20 hours of flying.
Who?
Gar.
15.
Oh, you're lucky. I'll give it to you. 15 is the actual DC or the save that you need, but since there's no aggressor, I'll give it to you. So Gar is tired, but he starts to check out the landing zone, seeing nothing, hearing nothing. He starts to think this is odd for the jungle. You can roll me a perception check or an investigation check if you'd like.
Can my can Elvis familiar assist?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
So I roll at advantage.
Yeah, you can roll at advantage, but I want Lionel to explain how he's assisting.
Okay, so Elwick speaks to his familiar and says, seeing that he's flying towards the part where they are going to put the boat, and he says to Rina, fly around that area too, and if you see something, poke at his shoulder for him to notice, and he will say to him, my familiar is going to help you. A scout.
I appreciate it. My wings are getting very tired at this point. 17.
Even with all of the stillness of the jungle and no wind, no creatures, no noise, no nothing, the plants even seem tense. You feel that it's safe to land there. You can't see or hear anything or moving in the recent vicinity, so you feel as though this is a good landing spot.
Then Gar will touch down pretty much right on the water line and wait for the canoe to get there.
This is going to be a long trek. You must all be prepared. We might not be able to sleep. It's probably at least a day and a half to where you pointed on the map earlier, if that's where you want to start the search.
That's not good, but okay.
And he starts,
He's still.
as you pull the boat up and tie it off, Kawasha is impatient to wait for you. Not very socially awesome. So he basically just starts walking into the bush. You should keep up if you're coming. Well,
Gar will follow on foot, giving his wings a chance to rest.
Yeah, and after a minute has helped get the boat up and given this the sun, she takes out her bow and she takes out one arrow, and she follows Gar.
Elwick will prepare his bow as well, and says if anyone gets tired enough, gets too tired, I can create a platform that can stand up to 500 pounds, but it will move slowly. So it will slow our pace, but it's just in case.
Well, Bjorn will say that might be a good idea, but I alone weigh 250 pounds, so I doubt this will do much.
All right, as you all head off into the jungle with no rest after the long and tiring boat ride, canoe ride, you head off into the jungle. Slowly and surely, the creatures start to make noises again, about 50, 60 feet away from the riverbank. Almost seemed like whatever made them nervous was on the riverbank. You're not sure if it was you or not. As you continue in, Huasha is dead fast at moving forward and not stopping. The path he has chosen seems slightly beaten down, for you don't need to cut anything in front of you, but the long grass is definitely shredding at your legs. It's not something that's well traveled in the least. I'd say it almost feels as though you're cutting your own path, but something has taken this way before, long, long ago. So there's no big trees or anything like that, but the bushes and everything that's grown in the last 5 to 10 years are cutting at you as you walk past. As 8 to 10 hours go by, I'm going to need everyone to roll me a con save at this point, as Kawasha continues on forward.
Okay, con.
14.
9.
Natural 1.
Whoops.
Lionel got a 1?
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, I believe that Menez and Elwig start to feel the strain of the long last 2 to 2.5 to almost 3 days now in this canoe. Menez especially paddling. Elwig nervously searching the map for the location that would be the best. They both take 1 point of exhaustion as they continue, as Kawasha continues to dead fast move forward and forward, on and on. We will not stop. We need to make this. It's too dangerous to stop.
Yes, I understand. It's just or so many days in a boat, so many days training the boat has made me unused to the land, and you have to understand I'm I'm a scholar, but I will go as fast as I can.
Yeah, the jungle's assault will make you strong. Go ahead.
Menez is stumbling more than she has in the past. She still is like alert with her eyes and stuff, but she starts to lag behind. She's normally like keeps pace with like Bjorn, especially, but it's like she's like way lagging behind. She's now, if not the last person, after like several hours going through her, she's like at least the second to last person walking in line.
Gar, I'm sorry, what did you end up rolling?
15 again.
Okay, yeah, no, the con save for that one was only 13.
Okay.
Okay, so as you're lagging behind, night again comes. Kawasha still moving forward, carting his own path, carving it through the forest or through the jungles at this point. You hear large animals to the east. A large herd of large animals moving through the jungles at night. You don't feel as though they're coming for you. It's almost as if just a large herd is migrating, but it's definitely thundering through the jungle. The insects on all sides of you are chirping, cricketing. The frogs are croaking. The jungle again seems alive with its phosphorescent few leaves and plants that are out there. Nothing seems to be roaming in the background at this point, but the thundering from that herd is kind of quelling all other noises, especially anything in the distance in front of you. Quasha gets you all to stop at one point. It's about 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning. You can kind of see the haze of the sun wanting to come up past the tree line. Almost, the dawn just on the cusp starts to slow you down. Quasha finally says, "Stop. I think that we are where we need to be. Through this tree line, I see a grotto, as you would call it. But it's basically a giant hole in the ground made of rock. It's just beyond those trees in front of us, maybe 150 feet out. But, again, it has gone quiet."
Can we just rest, says Elwick, while taking trying to hold from a near tree, sturdy enough to hold his weight, like leaning on?
We can rest quickly, but we need someone to scout ahead to see if it is safe. For this,
I can send
hole in the ground is not covered by trees.
I can send Rena. Rena, could you make us the favor of scouting ahead and telling us? And he asked for around how much distance she should be scouting.
The forest or the jungle line seems to be about 150 feet ahead of us, and it almost looks as though the area around the giant hole in the ground. And if you all look forward, you can definitely see the edge of the jungle. The area looks to be about another 150 feet larger than that, farther than that. You can barely see an opening through the jungle line. It's almost odd how Kawashi can see so well through the jungle, but you feel as though after this long in the jungle, he might be in tune through his druidic powers.
Menezes was extremely grateful to hear when the guide had said to actually stop after we were trekking for such a long time. She puts her hands on her knees and she really just almost like bends over, just trying to just catch her breath, just take that rest. She says, so one of us needs to trek forward.
He will.
I think I can do it. If Eloeg wants to send his familiar thing, I can fly with it, and we can do a little bit of aerial scouting.
Menez then takes up, still behind the brush where we are, takes up a position so that she can, as best as possible, still see where she's guessing Gar and the familiar is going to go. And she just, again, just like pulls up the string of her bow, just preparing before they set off.
So our Gar and the familiar are heading out?
Yeah, and he will ask if he can set up his tent for the rest.
I'm not sure we'll be here for that long, but I guess this would be better than any place to camp if we're going to be here for any time at all.
We shouldn't lose too much time resting, as we already spent a couple days getting here, and we wouldn't want to miss Ordime on our way back.
So as Gar and Eloig's familiar take to the air, crest the canopy of the jungle, finally into open air. Nothing above you, Gar. It must feel nice and refreshing to be open again. The sun beating down on your wings. As you crest the line, you and the familiar look and you can see the opening. As you get another 20, 30 feet above the jungle canopy, you start moving forward. You see a giant sinkhole, a wide sinkhole yawns before you. The earth around it littered with bones. The opening is around 90 feet across and roughly circular, and the stone walls are nearly vertical. You see roughly 30 feet down a mist hovering over what you seem to be water. The sinkhole is filled with what you would believe to be a murky green substance. Hundreds of frogs seem to hop, floating from plant to plant. Through all of this, you see a massive rib cage and fine wing bones of a dragon rise through the murk of the bottom of this grotto. Vines, moss, and lichen hang from the bones. Judging from how much of the skeleton is exposed, you believe that the murky substance can't be more than 3 or 4 feet deep. But a definite ominous feel takes hold of you as this sight unfolds in front of you. The rest of the group hangs back in the jungle, waiting your return.
Gar has the initial urge, just out of curiosity, to fly down lower and get a better look, but he knows almost as soon as that thought enters his head that would probably be about the worst, dumbest thing he could do right now. And so he'll circle the area a little bit at height and see if there's any other distinguishing marks that he might need to relay to the rest of the group before heading back.
All right, I'll get you to roll me a perception, and in the meantime, I think Menez wants to roll a perception check as well.
I got an 8.
Yeah, I got 20. And she's trying to look where these guys are and just spread her vision out.
22.
22.
You got a 22, I'm sorry?
A modified 20.
Okay, and go ahead, Elwood.
The familiar will not go further than 100 meters from the camping point.
Okay.
Because she's transmitting to Elwick what she's seeing. So you basically see Elwick sitting a dry rock or a set of branches that could hold him, and they begin to like trance with his open eyes are looking at the distance, like not noticing you nor hearing what you're saying, those who are in the camp.
Okay.
And he would like to command his familiar to perch in one of the highest bones of the dragon and keep a sight of the area. And when his teammate is going to come back, she will fly back.
Okay. Menez with an unmodified 20. Basically, even with your eyesight spread and your senses up, you feel as though maybe you're a little bit tired, but you notice nothing. You can't see past the jungle line. You're still 150 feet from the jungle line, and all you see is trees and insects.
Yeah, sorry, I just realised that I have exhausted ability checks. So do I? That check would have been on a disadvantage. Is that right?
Yeah, I believe that's the first point. Yeah.
Then I definitely don't get that. I got a 9, 6, 7, 8, 9. I would have got 10. Sorry.
All right. So Gar, with an 8, as you're searching with your eyes to be a little bit more precise, and you see Eloig's familiar start to rest in a tree. Just before I forget, Eloig, I believe 100 meters is around 300 feet, so your bird would have made it to almost all the edges of the opening. So Gar sees basically nothing else. You can't really see any defined things in the grotto itself. But on the outside, you start to take a little bit of a better look at the bones, and you believe a couple of the sets of bones to be goblin bones. So if at this point Eloig wants to transmit to the group what the familiar has seen, feel free to do that.
Yeah, sure. He is reciting, like in a plain voice, like he's reading something really, really, really boring in a plain voice. No, 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 no. At this distance, no. This bone, then move, color this one, and like that.
Menez looks over her shoulder up at where Eloig was is perched, and she says, "I can't make anything out from where I am. What do you see?"
He continues reciting what he sees because he cannot hear you.
Absolutely. And then she turns in the direction of where Björn is and says, "Can you make out anything?" And you see that she's just like she kind of looks a little sick, actually. You know, I mean, of course, exhausted and tired, but she seems a little sick. And she's like, "Can you make out anything?"
I'm guessing we're too far away. We should either get closer or wait for Guard to return and get us up to whatever he found over there.
For a moment, Minette's hearing what you say. She just readjusts where she's sitting, just shifts over, and then she scans using perception the area behind us. So instead of looking where in front where she was, the absolute opposite way, like behind us and just all that sort of area. She tries to just like really like listen and look. Oh, sorry. So 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So again, she's just exhausted, and she just can't make anything. So she puts her hand inside her shirt, and she takes out one of 2 vials that she's got, and she uncorks it, and it's got like a nutty sort of smell to it. And she drinks down this brown liquid, and it's sort of like even though it's got like a nutty smell, it's almost like sweet to the taste. And she has rest potion. So 1 exhaustion point goes as she feels like her vision clears from the blurring, and just she feels better.
Awesome. Gar can return if you would like.
Yeah, I would say, a few minutes pass, and Gar finishes his, circle of the area once or twice, and he's not able to really pick anything out. He's a little distracted by just the enormous dragon bone, the skeletons that he's seeing below him. And so he then flies back to the group, and he lands down, pretty much in the middle, right behind Kwasha, and he tells the group what he saw, that there was this giant just dragon skeleton in the middle of this just deep bog marsh looking place, and he's not exactly sure the best approach, and so he would kind of turn to Kawasha to see what he thinks.
Were there any enemies, you fool? Did you see anything scurrying around?
I would have told you if I had seen one.
Well, geez, let's just go then. And Kawasha starts to walk towards the sinking grotto.
Just one question, Dan. Is you said before about mist. Is that mist still there, or there's no mist at all?
When Gar and Eloig's familiar saw the mist, it seemed as though it was at the bottom of the 30-foot grotto, 30-foot hole in the ground.
Excellent. So Minez puts her hand on the side of Gar's wing softly. She says, was the mist tinged in any color, or is it just a normal mist?
Gar would know that it was just a normal mist.
It looked like normal mist. I didn't see anything too much past it.
She would relay the information of one time when she was in the jungle, and they came across this this mist that was either tinged, she can't remember now whether it was blue or green. But she says if we come across anything like that, we need to definitely not enter it. Then she turns and starts slowly walking with bow and arrow in hand after the guide.
Bjorn will follow, but with more confidence and just like walking after Kawasha and knowing from Gar that there apparently was no threat. He's just going for it and wanting to explore that grotto. You're muted, Dan.
Thanks, man. That doesn't help. Okay, so Eloig, since you're in some form of a trance, you'd have to wait for your familiar, but moments would go by before, through your familiar's eyes, you would see Kawasha first break the tree line. Then I would imagine you would see Bjorn, Menez slowly following after, searching behind them, and Gar following. You would realize that the group has left you and made their way to the tree line.
Oh, I say that my familiar will. Okay, I will have. Let's say that as soon as he sees it, he just snaps out of the trance, ordering his familiar to stand by and communicate him telepathically whatever thing strange she spots, and moves slowly towards the group, reading his bow and arrow.
All right, nice. As you guys break through the trees, you see this giant opening. This large, what seems like a circular hole in the ground in front of you made of rock, or cut out of the rock, almost to be 90 feet wide all around, circular. From there, you can basically see the other side of the rock shooting down before it cuts off. It looks as though vines have been growing for years, and the walls of the far wall, at least from what you can see, looks at least easily scalable. As you come up to the edge of the hole and you look down, you see the ominous bones of this giant dragon creeping up through the murky water. A light white mist hazing across the whole floor of the cavern. The lichen and vines have grown so much that it's hard to discern much anything else. But as you stare at the dragon bones, all of you give me a perception check, please.
$15. And if it's okay, she's also trying to look at these vines. She's specifically looking for assassin vines mingled in with the normal vines.
Okay.
I rolled a natural 1.
All right.
16 for Gar.
With disadvantage for the exhaustion, got an 8.
rolled an 8?
Yes.
Okay. Bjorn is just dumbfoundedly looking at this giant dragon skeleton in awe of the ominous and creepy tone of the grotto that is in front of him. Menez searches through the vines, not seeing anything familiar or anything even remotely moving at all. Nothing seems to be a threat so far. Eloig is searching for his familiar in the tree line, knowing that he landed somewhere tall, but really not staring down at the grotto at all. And Gar, closely looking at the dragon bones now that he's had a better chance and a better view from the ground, notices that the vines and the lichen seem to be growing in an odd net-like pattern, almost like whatever might have been thrown on this dragon when it was alive has decomposed, and the earthen has taken over it and started to grow from it. But you can definitely see the outline of what seems to be a net laying over top of the dragon bones.
And I'll relay that information to the others. And it's like, these vines, they're growing in a net-like pattern. I'm not sure. Is the net? Is the net still there, or would it have? Is it just kind of like the plants have taken where the net was, or?
That's what it seems to be. Is the plants have taken over.
You know what?
Do the vines that are going down, which we could climb down on, are they the same type of vines that are over the dragon?
You remind me something. If you wait me 10 minutes, I will want to cast a magic that will allow me to detect if there is something arcane in nature in this area.
Menez says we can wait 10 minutes. So Dan, is the vines going down the same as the vines that are over the dragon?
They seem different. They seem thicker. It definitely seems like the vines that are over the dragon are the old strands of rope that lichen and moss has grown on top of, and then eventually through. And basically the rope has deteriorated, and the vines and the lichen that were in their place have taken over. The vines that scale the edges of the hole in the ground seem easily climbable. The rock of the wall seem easily climbable. It seems like it would be easily scalable. As you search even around you more for the vines and what you see, you come across a few of the skeletons, and they are easily recognized as goblin skeletons. Old scrapped goblin tools lay around. Everything seems singed and burnt as though there was a great battle. A lot of them are decomposing and being taken over from the earth once more, but you can definitely tell that the skeletons, the dragon, the vines on the wall have all been here for so long that they all seem steadfast and held true in where they are. It almost seems like the earth has accepted them and taken over parts of them and held them down. So you definitely feel as though the vines are climbable and the rock walls are easily scalable.
Could I say one last thing and then I'll be quiet? My last thing would be she's gonna check out again the vines in regards to the vines and the thing. She doesn't she finds something suspicious about the vines and things, so she's gonna check that. But before she does, she checks the area up where they are for any sort of for all types of tracks, any tracks that have recently come within the last day or week.
You made an investigation check on both of those.
Meanwhile, Elwi is ritual casting detect magic.
Okay.
So she got a 13 minus 1 is 12.
And Elovig is going to cast the magic to find out if there's any arcane presence in the area.
If there is any magic, if the vines, he can detect 30 feet radius, but he will, after he finish, he will move around, concentrating on the spell, try to see if something pop-ups in his radar.
As Bjorn tells Elovig to wait and starts to search and investigate the ground around and the vines for tracks or stability or anything possibly out of the ordinary, Menez finds no tracks, nothing at all within the area of the opening of this clearing around this hole. It seems as though all life is abandoned in this area. There's a few noises from the creatures inside the bush line or inside the jungle line, but other than that, you find that they must all go around this place. None of them seem to have tread on the land from the jungle's edge. The vines themselves, absolutely nothing out of the ordinary to what you find with what you rolled. And then Elwig comes behind you and casts the spell anyway. His magic, explain how your magic goes off quickly, or if this is just like an internal.
Well, so he basically uses like a twig or a branch or something to make signs, a circle in the area, in the mud or in the earth, and begins to write signs, and that takes 10 minutes. Then concentrates in the middle, and when he opens his eyes, like a wave, almost transparent, of light, dim light, courses through his body, and he begins to move around and sense where his surroundings.
Did I hear you correctly? And it takes about 10 minutes to cast the spell, or it takes 10 minutes?
Ritual casted, yes. That's what I said. Here draws the circle in the earth.
All right. So as Elwig starts to make his patterns in the air, what does the rest of the group want to do?
Now that we're a little bit further down into this actual grotto, Gar will do another real low flyover, taking a closer look at the dragon bones, seeing if there's, if there was supposed to be treasure here, if maybe the dragon had fallen on its treasure and if it was somehow buried underneath its rib cage or something like that. And just kind of doing another flyover a lot closer to the ground.
All right. But you're not going below the surface of the ground?
No.
Okay. As you fly over, from what you can tell, again, you see this liquid, what you believe to be water, at the bottom of this cutout hole in the ground. From what you can tell and how the bones are lying, you think the water could be 3 to 5 feet deep. Probably no more, considering the size of the dragon and how his bones are protruding up through the surface of this water. It's dark and murky, though. It's hard to see through. Almost impossible. The only way to be able to tell if there was anything down there would be to go down there and check.
Okay.
Kawasha looks to the rest of the group. So I've arrived you at your location that you wanted. I don't know what else you want to do here, but I do remember a story that our people would speak of this area. Supposedly, the dragon himself, the Needle, was halfway done moving his loot because he knew the Batari goblins were coming for him. When they finally got him, they were said to have attacked him from below and above. I'm not sure what that means, but obviously with the net, they held him down. If there is anything, and this was the dragon's cave, or grotto, or lair, or whatever you have you, it would be below him. He would rest on top of it.
So we're still outside, right?
Sorry?
I'm sorry. We're still outside, right?
Yeah, you haven't entered you haven't started to climb down at all yet.
Right. Well, Kawasha, having said that, Bjorn will suggest in the case that somebody seeing Menace, like checking over for tracks and stuff, and then Elwig casting some magic which he doesn't understand, but knows is probably related to scouting. He will suggest the group to start going down as if they haven't found anything that might say that there's a threat nearby, that they may start going down, because that was the purpose of their quest to search the dragon's lair.
Yes, it does look, Kawasha would say, that it would be easy to get down there and back up. You might want to be careful, though. You never know what could be in that water, or you never know what could be in a dragon's lair. Watch where you step.
So do we have to climb down, or is there kind of a slope down into the hole?
Since what it looks like is a giant 90-foot circle cut out of the ground in front of you, as you look at the walls, they're straight down and up 30 feet all around. This giant cylinder cut from the ground.
Okay. Then Bjorn will start tying his rope to whatever he can find secure outside the hole. And unless somebody else tells him not to, he will start climbing down the hole.
Yeah, Menez says, Menez begins to say to you to stop, actually. And then she pauses, and then she says to you, there's no rush, she says. But she knows that you'll do whatever you plan to do.
Well, what are we waiting for?
She says, I'd like to investigate this place a lot more before I go down into it.
What more do we have to see?
She begins lighting up a torch.
You gonna throw it in the hole?
Yeah, and then you can see by how she's moving and what she's doing that's her intention is going to be to throw it down that 30 feet down.
All right. Well, Bjorn will hold, but we'll still. I have a climbing kit, so he'll put on his harness and still secure himself to the rope, ready to jump. But he will listen to Menace's advice and wait on her to investigate further.
Yeah, she throws it down.
As the torch falls into the giant cylinder cut out of the ground, it lights up the dragon bones. It seems to clear the mist a little bit. It's a little easier to see through the mist to the dragon bones and the murky water below. And all you see again is the clear form of the vines crossing the dragon as a net-shaped pattern. You see sticks hanging onto the side, sticking out of the water on one side where you believe the trap of the net could have been set off, and the first lances or weight of the net was thrown across the cavern to cover this dragon. You see the giant dragon's skull halfway out of the water, halfway sunken. Lichen and mold start to creep up the side of it as moss and grass takes the top of the head, but the eyes still have an odd glint in them as your torch finally hits the water and goes out.
Absolutely. Can we guess? Can we just two things, and then she's going to go down. Can we guess just what we see, how big this dragon roughly was?
Absolutely. This is a full-grown adult dragon. You cannot tell yet which size. If any of you wants to give me a history check, you might know how to tell a dragon by its skeleton. But it's a giant creature.
History or Arcana?
Like how long
nature?
Is it? Estimate if it was like, if it's 20 feet long, 15 feet long. Just that is what I mean.
I say, from the structure of the bones, you would imagine that this would be 25 to 30 feet long.
Okay. So the last thing she says in the is she wants to triple check these vines, right? She wants to triple check these vines and see if the only difference between the vines that are here and the vines that are 30 feet down, if just the ones that are down are just maybe bigger, but the same vine but just bigger, or just if there's any difference. Other than that, she makes her way down.
They seem to be different. The vines covering the dragon seem to be built off of something organic but man-made, as the vines that creep down the sides of the cavern seem to be all natural.
Absolutely. She starts seeing that. She starts to climb down. She doesn't even use her climbing kit. She just takes a breath and just starts to climb down by hand using the rock and using the vines to make her way down.
I'd say by now, as Gar and Eloig sit on the so far at the top of the climb, it's been about 10 minutes, Elwig. So you're able to cast your spell off.
Okay.
As you
Is the,
as you search for any form of arcane feelings at all around you and your surroundings, you feel as though at one point this was a great and dangerous magical place. But all you feel now is the small call of a possible item underneath the surface of the murky water at the bottom of the cave.
he will have the other party members are already down in the grotto, right?
Bjorn and Menez have started the climb. I have not asked Gar what he's decided to do yet.
Okay, see, he will move around a little bit and then follow into the grotto. Keeping, he has 10 minutes of detecting magic.
You can feel a magical pull still from the bottom of the hole as you start to climb down the walls with Menez and Bjorn. Gar, what would you like to do?
Gar, he, like I say, he did his flyover and then didn't really see too much. So he kind of just came back and sat down on the edge of the wall. And then he's just going to watch Menez and Bjorn and Eloig climb down the side. And once they reach the bottom, then he'll just jump off the side and glide down to meet them.
So as Menez and Bjorn, I would imagine taking the lead as Menez is following very closely behind, almost beside each other, just one or two handholds behind Bjorn. As Bjorn comes to the water line and he looks to the dragon now half sunken in front of him and the bones coming out, it's definitely an awe-inspiring sight. The skull itself is pointed towards you as you can see the features of the snout, the giant front fangs covered in lichen, and the gaping holes where the eyes of the dragon used to be. You have a choice. If you'd like to continue. Go ahead.
Sorry. You said that a history check for identifying the dragon?
I'm sorry, I wasn't able to hear you, Lionel. What was that?
You said a history check for identifying the dragon.
Yes, a history check to see if you know how to identify a dragon skeleton.
Okay, he rolled a 10.
I would say that Elwig, searching her memory for any books about dragons, comes across something that he thinks is important. He pulls it out of the filing cabinet in his head and starts to try to remember all the words that were on the page in front of him. As he comes through, it gets to the point about identifying dead skeleton dragons. And he remembers that there's something having to do with the skull of the dragon. But other than that, he can't seem to remember any other words on the page.
Yeah, he's too tired. The disadvantage was
Bjorn, as you start to slip your foot into the murky water below you. Sorry, go ahead.
So as we arrived down here, and Gar lands beside the thing, remembering that Eloig had been taking 10 minutes to use her incantations.
Gar's still up on the side of the cave at this point, but yeah, I know what you're saying.
Who's up at the head? Gar.
Gar's still sitting up at the top, waiting for you guys to crawl down.
I thought you said that you flew down afterwards and landed.
Once you guys got down to the bottom, I jumped off and I'm floating down there with you guys.
You will float with you once you reach the bottom.
Are we at the bottom now?
We're getting to the bottom, yeah.
Oh, okay. Sorry. Well, continue.
And so as Bjorn starts to stick his foot into the murky water below him, it's warm, oddly. Not hot, but definitely warmer than the air around you, and almost warmer than body temperature, as it feels like you're sticking your foot into a nice bathtub. It feels as though it's water. The slime of the lichen on the top of the water, and the plankton that's grown over time, the algae and the surfaces, the lily pads and the frogs around you. As the slime starts to as you pull out your foot, the slime around it looks healthy and green. It looks like this is thriving at least. So that makes you feel a little bit more comfortable. As you finally put your whole leg down, you feel the bottom of the cave at about 4 feet. So you can easily have your head above the water and your chest above the water as you walk forward. It's muddy. The bottom feels as though there's starting of seaweed to be growing. But the silt is flowing now that your feet are starting to hit the bottom. The sediment that is covered the floor of this for decades finally starts to stir with your footprints. As you start to move forward, the frogs start to act a little bit more edgy. They start hopping around their lily pads more and more. But I would imagine that you're not moving quickly. You're just moving slowly. About 4 feet. Why don't you describe how you're moving closer to the, or what you do actually as you start to immerse yourself? Mena is still on the wall. Gar still on the shelf above you. And Elovic starting to make his way down as well.
Well, arriving to the bottom, Bjorn seeing like on his first step and starting to unhook his harness from the rope he set up. He notices the lichen, as you said, is quite green and looks healthy, so that kind of surprises him. And then turning around, kind of like walking, but on the same place, just repositioning himself because he was facing the door, the wall of rock. You can see that like there's one of his leg that is definitely more hindered by the mud, like getting stuck in there, and then really having you can hear the sound of it when he takes it out, like from the suction. And apparently his peg leg is a lot more made to be going through that kind of environment, so that one moves a lot more freely. So that kind of sets him off because he's used to having his other leg being the good one. But it just takes him a fraction of a second to shift and adjust himself, and then he turns facing the whole of the cavern and kind of scans through the area now that he's down the hole to maybe make out something else that he wouldn't have seen from the outside.
As you scan the walls quickly before Menace ascends into the water with you, you notice these, or what at least look like remnants of goblin weaved baskets sticking out from the wall about 3 feet above you. So 8 feet, 3 feet above the water. So 8 feet above the floor of this cavern. It's odd. These look like fishing baskets, but why would the goblins have ever been fishing here?
Yeah.
They seem smashed up against the wall of the hole that you're in. Other than that, you see nothing else out of the ordinary. Your feet hit nothing solid yet. Only the silt around you.
Yeah, Menez doesn't actually go into the water. She climbs down. I didn't realize it's like it's water on the floor. The floor is all like water. There's no like solid ground you can step on.
None at all, other than the bones emanating from the top of the surface of water.
Absolutely. Okay, great. So she doesn't go into the water for sure. Definitely not. But she climbs down. Then she starts making her way horizontally across to the side, to the left. And she's looking for any sort of is there any sort of like indentation, alcoves, anything like this, like, or better places to get some sort of like footing along the side of the wall with the spines?
Now that you're scaling the wall on the side of the cavern, you come across what feels like a gouge in the rock, almost as if one day the dragon tried to climb out and its claw marks scratched the rock itself. It wouldn't be obvious or known at all, or even anything to see, but it feels like something that you could at least plant your feet in and feel more comfortable.
Absolutely. So first thing she does is just climbs a little bit down, because she's a very good climber. Even slightly to the side thing. She checks that crevice claw mark, you know, just like pokes in there. That's the thing, and then she like really like stabilizes her foot in there, and she looks up to where Elwig and Gar is, and that's it.
Elwig's about halfway down, making his way down to the water now, and Gar feels as though, knowing that Menez probably doesn't want to get wet, he feels as though it's safe to start gliding down. He releases himself from the edge of the cave and starts to cautiously but confidently glide down, knowing that his friends are down at the bottom of this now. Oddly, go ahead.
Question. I'm swimming.
No, you're walking.
Okay, so it's just like shallow water and then a muddy ground.
Yeah, the water is about 4 feet high, and
Okay, I got it. Yeah.
at the bottom of it, it's just sediment and silt from ages of dust falling in.
Is it kind of like a swamp-like thing?
Yeah, it would kind of be like going to a heavily wooded beach. You know, walking into that where it's kind of like all that black silt mixed in and sand's like moving around your foot as you step down in it.
Okay, cool.
Lasgar's lowering himself through the air. Made the first 5-10 feet safely, 15 feet safely, looking around. All of a sudden, he hears a click. It seems as though if this ever was set to be a trap, possibly part of it didn't go off in the past. Maybe these goblins actually built things better than he thought. As 2 spears fly out of the wall to your left, they cruise close to your head as you're still floating about 10 feet in the air above the floor of this cave. You realize that this might have been part of the net that captured this dragon on the floor of this cave before. And as these 2 spears fly past your head, they clear you safely. But behind them, they bring a part of the net with it, a small 2-section part of the net. And as this net gets wrapped up in your wings, you fall the rest of the 10 feet down to the bottom of the scrub. As the water starts to pour in around you, the net tightening as you start to struggle against it, Menez, Bjorn, and Elwig see this happen to Gar. The water starting to swirl in around him, almost encasing him fully now as he splashes into the water. But he seems to manage to keep his head above. What do you do?
Am I far from him?
30 feet.
I'll start going towards him to help him and get out of the net if I get there fast enough.
Yeah, Menez does a you know that like pike thing. She's like hanging onto sort of this thing. She like pikes her body like this, like a dives completely under the water. This 4 because it's 4 feet, right?
Yep.
Basically swims there because you can swim in it. She swims over to him as fast as she can.
Can you make it to him in one turn? You were about 40 feet, maybe 43 feet away from him.
Yeah, well, her movement is 40. I do at least then. I use my dash if it's possible to do that swimming. I don't know. And
All right,
I won't be able to help, but at least I'll be where she is.
I'll see you'll make it to Gar, absolutely. You at least you got into him. Elwig?
After seeing the trap sprung, he will almost paranoidly look around, checking for traps while he's moving down to reach the floor or where the others are.
Give me a quick
He roll a investigation?
Yeah.
Okay, so 16 with disadvantage.
As you're
the other one was a natural 20.
as you're climbing down the wall to get to the water, you notice where these spears came from. You see what looks to be a well created trap strung against the wall. The springs of it have already released, and it seems like the whole net itself is gone now. But it does seem almost camouflaged to the side. Really well built for goblins, you think. And then I'll allow you to continue down.
Okay.
Do you go into the water, Elwig?
Sure. Yes. I mean, I'm still waiting for him to reach the floor or the water movements, so he can begin to inspect. He was going to inspect and get closer to the object, but since his teammate fell into the trap or was captured in the trap, he's going to move towards him and assist.
As Bjorn is moving through the silt and water towards Gar now, he feels different things bouncing off of his feet. There's definitely things moving, or not moving, but in the silt. Some of them feel long, some of them feel heavy. Some of them definitely have the make of what you would believe to be weapons. Some of them are small and metal-like, but other than coins, you wouldn't be able to think they could be anything else. And as you're moving almost forward towards Gar, almost there, you see Menes pop out of the water beside him. Gar thrashing now with this net around him. The thrashing seems to have set the frogs off. The lily pads crushed into the water. The frogs are croaking immensely now. They're going wild. They're jumping as fast as they can, for there's too many frogs for the amount of lily pads, yet they seem to not want to go into the water. As you're thrashing and thrashing, Elwig gets closer and closer. Bjorn gets closer and closer. Miana is starting to strip at the netting around you. It's not hard for her to start to break at it. But you feel something. Elwig at first feels something move past your leg quickly. And then Bjorn feels it move off to his right. Just the pressure of the water pushing up against his legs. It's almost as if the lobster leg feels it better than his human leg. And then Menes feels this swarm start to encircle her and start to bite at her and start to bite at Gar. Gar feels the pain of these small bites, hundreds of these small bites, all at the same time. He screams, and he now freed from the net that Menes is finally cut away from him, can do whatever he would like to do, as we'll roll initiative.
$15.
15.
20 total.
21.
Can I get Dex from Menes and Elwig?
My dex is 16, so I get +1.
So
Sorry.
my
Yeah.
Elwig.
No, sorry. I've got 12. My dexterity is 12, so I get +1.
Elwig's dexterity is 16, so he gets +3.
All right, so it'll go Elwig and then Menes.
Yeah, absolutely.
And
Oh no, I rolled 13, 1 3.
Oh, 13.
you both have 13? No. Menes has 12, right? So
Menes rolled 15 and Lineal rolled 13, I believe.
Oh, I got you. I'm sorry. I understand now. All right, and we're good to go. As these bites on Menes and Gar. Where the fucking dice go? Where? Hold on. I'm bringing out my lucky dice app. Sorry, guys. The bites to Gar. 15 for an attack.
15 will miss.
All right, the bites seem to, thankfully, the thickness of your hide seems to be helping you resist the gnawing of these of whatever's in this water. Menes to you, 18 to hit.
Oh, absolutely. My armor class is 14 at the moment.
All right, so you take 4 points of damage. 4 points of biting damage, I guess, piercing damage. And then we have Bjorn at the top of the initiative. Basically, Bjorn, all you see is Menes and Gar starting to dance in the water in what looks like pain. Menes, a little bit of a noise comes from her in discomfort, and Gar seems to be circling around looking to see what's at least trying to bite at him.
So I have 40 feet movement speed, so once I started towards Gar when he fell from the trap, how far am I from them now?
I'd say with that probably about 8 feet then.
Okay, so I can't make out know what they're what's happening. I just see them like thrashing in the water.
Basically, this murky water that you're in is very dark and salty. You can't seem to see through it at all. All you see is small vibrations in the water around Menezingar.
Okay. How far am I from the dragon bones?
I'd say Gar fell within 5 to 10 feet of those, so I'd say you're about 10 feet away.
So is there like big bones I could swim to and like hop onto to get out of the water?
Absolutely, the rib cage of this thing. See, those bones look like they're almost 8 inches around or 8 inches wide in diameter. So.
Okay, so I will do that, and then I will draw my pole arm and try to scan the water, looking for what's attacking them, and so I will ready an attack action.
Okay.
That's it.
Then we have this entity in the water seems to be swarming Menez and Bjorn, or sorry, Menez and Gar. All of a sudden, Eloig feels another surge past her leg, and now surrounding Bjorn seem to be these small entities that he cannot see through the surface of the water, but they start biting at his legs, or at least his one leg. They seem to be avoiding the lobster leg altogether, but they're biting at the other leg. With the 5 to attack, they clearly can't seem to make it through your skin or your pants or whatever you seem to have on, but they're definitely having a hard time locking onto you. As one finally comes to the surface near you, you can tell this odd small fish. These things underneath the water must be swarms with the amount of that are swarming around, that seem to be swarming around you. Must be hundreds of these little fish. Roll me a nature check.
A what? Nature?
Yeah.
17.
You recognize them as what's called quippers by the native people. They're a piranha-like fish. They always hunt in swarms. They don't like rustling. They're always attracted to rustling in the water or harsh sounding vibrations through the water that seems like something's in distress. Other than that, they're usually very calm. But when they do attack, they attack as a swarm. They're not very strong, but when there's a lot of them, they seem to be unstoppable.
So they attacked me even though I was out of the water?
I didn't think you made it to the bones. I'm sorry, I thought you were still in the water heading towards Gar. I didn't realize you jumped out onto the bones.
That wasn't my intention. I don't know if I was close enough.
Okay. So then that attack goes again towards Menez and Bjorn, or Menez and Gar. So Gar, that's an 18 to attack.
That does hit.
All right, so you take 2 points of damage. And
2.
Menez, that's a nat 20. Oh, that's only 2 points of damage too. I rolled really low on that one.
So do I still see one jumping out of the water?
Yeah, as you were walking towards, one of them would have came up to the surface that was heading towards Gar and Menez, and you would have seen what it is. And with your nature roll, you recognize it.
Okay. Could I use my attack roll to instead? Ah, shit! I don't have it anymore. Seeing with my nature roll, I would know whether it is pointless or not to attack them? Question mark.
Yeah, you would know that since there's hundreds of small little fish, that certain attacks wouldn't work, certain attacks would. But you would know that they settle down quickly when the water's calm again.
Okay. So, if possible, I would use my attack action I ready to instead just shout out to the other people that they're like they're little fish and they have to get out of the water as soon as possible, and kind of like hunch over and give out my hand to anybody who would get close to help them out of the water.
All right. Next up is Menace.
Absolutely. So Menez uses her action to free Gar. So his as best as possible, she's just tearing off this this netting, either using her blade to help or just with a raw strength, just to rip the netting off so that his wings are free for him to fly. That's her action. And then her movement is diving back into the water and swimming as fast as she can, 40 to the wall.
They get an opportunity attack on you. There's so many of them in the water that you wouldn't be able to even evade or disengage them. But they only attack for a 5, so they miss. As you move through the water so quickly, they have a hard time gauging where you are, and they can't get their bites to attack. Then we have Elwig. And you do make it up.
How far are them?
You do make it up onto the bones with Bjorn.
I'm not going to the bones. I'm going to the wall.
Oh, okay. Then yeah, with your swim speed, you make it to the wall.
Absolutely.
Again, how big is the growth or the water part from side to side?
The water is about 4 feet deep all the way across.
Not deep, but wide.
It's 90 feet wide from wall to wall, all the way around the giant circle.
Okay. Where is the item irradiating magic?
The magic seems to be in the middle of the grotto, underneath the dragon
Okay.
ball.
How far are my teammates from my position?
30 feet. 30 feet to Bjorn, 25 feet to Gar.
And where is the closest bone where I can climb up, not to be beaten by the things?
Between Gar and Bjorn, so about 28 feet.
Since it's 3 feet, 4 feet high, I will have to swim, right?
How tall is your character?
5. Sorry. 5, 4, 5 feet 4 inches.
So you would be a foot and a half, about a foot and a half, almost a foot and a half above the top of the water. If you wanted to walk, you could successfully walk, or you could possibly get there faster by swimming.
So okay, so I need to know the fastest way to move towards them.
I'd say swimming, straight.
Swimming. Okay, so he will swim. What, 15 feet for movement?
If you're trying to make it to Gar, it's 25 feet. If you're trying to make it to Menace, it's 30 feet. Or sorry, not to Menace, to Bjorn, it's 30 feet.
To the closest bone.
So the bone would be 28 feet.
20 feet. So I will have to make a dash.
Okay.
Will expedition retreat, the spell that grants a dash, counts as swimming as a bonus action?
I don't think so, no.
Okay, so he will dash towards the bone, not immediately close to them, but somewhat close, like 10 feet if possible.
Okay.
And begin to climb up it.
All right. I'll say that you're successful in doing that. The second, I believe Gar is still in the water, correct?
Yeah, he hasn't gotten a turn yet.
So as one swarm ends up chasing Elwig off, as he finally reaches the bones and starts to crawl up, the swarm finds it pointless and heads back into the water. They seem to go towards the wall a little bit farther away from Gar, so he realizes that maybe they are starting to calm down. Menez is taking a few of the fish with her. Some circle the bones underneath Bjorn and Elvig now. But there's still, a small horde that comes up. They start to head for you. You can see them in the water. You can see them coming. There's nothing really much you can do. They're starting to surround and attack from all sides. They're all at 12, so I believe they miss. As again, they start to bounce off their hide as their mouths close around you. Bjorn, it's up to you. Yeah, you're on top of the bones. It's your shot.
So Garston is still in the water.
Yep, he's up next in the initiative, but he is still in the water at the moment.
Okay. Well, I'm not gonna do anything. I'll just look over and see if everybody's fine, and still tell guard to get out of the water, and holding up my hand to help him if he swims towards me. That's it.
All right, Gar.
Gar, now that he's free of the net, will just use his entire move action just to get himself up out of the water using his wings, and just starts flapping with all of his life. And he'll get about 10 feet probably up, just enough to get out of the water.
You see the water riplets just flowing from your wings and flying off the tips and just smacking against the walls of the cavern. And like a ferocity from you trying to get up above. So since we're all out of the water, I'd say that we can get out an initiative. The fish circle slowly and then disperse throughout the cavern again, seeming to calm down quickly. You believe once they are calm that they will stay calm as long as nothing really agitates the water too bad or nothing seems to be in distress. But as the water starts to settle again, the eerie mist starts to lower again, and the creepiness of the cave comes back quickly.
Is there a possibility in going further down in the sinkhole while just hopping from a bone to another one?
You could definitely do that. You know that the water below you is too murky to see through. But yeah, you could hop from bone to bone if you'd like.
Okay, Bjorn will start doing that. How dark is it in the cave?
I'm sorry?
How dark is it?
I'd say the sun is right above you now. It just came into the surface entryway of the cave. It's starting to slowly burn off the mist. It's quite light in the cave now.
All right, so I'll just tell the other companions to try as much as possible not to make any ripples on the water, because the fish are gonna come back out. But otherwise, we should push forward. And on that note, Bjorn turns aside and starts walking further towards the center of the hole.
Yeah, so I'm imagining it's like it just kind of goes down like that, and it's like flat water. Is there any other exits or entrances from where Minez can see? She's climbed up like 10 feet up on these vines from the water, 10 feet from the bottom of the water, and she's looking as best as she can.
As you stare at the cave walls, you realize whatever carved this long ago only made the one entrance and exit at the top. It was the perfect place for a dragon to rest. Rather doesn't serve much purpose.
So the only way is down underneath the water, it looks like. And she says she shouts out to Elwick. She says, what did you find? She's referring to what you took 10 minutes of doing up when you were up.
Well, I was going towards it until this commotion began. There is something in the center of the pool. I hope these fishes do not bring the death to us.
You mean below? You mean below the bones? Maness says.
Yes. Well, I guess so. We will have to find a way to move there and scoop or dive or something like that.
And leaning off the side, she points towards where Björn is, as he's like hopping and making his way along the top of the bones. And she says, "Is it close to where Björn is, or closer to the head? Can you point out where you saw this this calling or this pulling that you were talking about?"
He will point out to the object that I imagine he can still detect. And he begins to move slowly towards it in the water, trying to check if the fish are notice him and begin to attack again, keeping in mind the nearest bones he can climb into.
I kind of see you dipping your foot into the surface of the water a few times just to see what happens before you actually submerge it. And then your leg up to your knee, the water warm again, oddly feeling. The fish you see start to swim towards you, but then they swim away, and they don't seem agitated at all. And then you remember back as Bjorn was walking through the water at first, nothing seemed to happen to him until the splashes from Gar and the drop. So you feel like you should be able to walk confidently through the water as long as there are no sudden, quickly movements.
Okay.
As you get closer and closer to the feeling of this arcane power, you start to realize that you're within about 3 feet of it now, but it's below you. It feels as though it's at your feet. So you'd have to either submerge yourself to get to it or try to use your feet to kick it up.
Let's see what he would have brought. He could use.
Do you share that information with the other people?
Yes, I said. I mean, all of them were there. I imagine all of them, all of you were there. All of you could have heard what he was saying.
So, seeing as they're pretty much at the center of the hole, Bjorn will look around and kind of like steady himself, readying himself to hold his breath and jump, dive
No.
downward.
Does Elwick see him trying to jump?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, he will say no. Slow. Do not jump. Slow, or they will begin to attack again.
Sure. So he's just gonna take a deep breath and slowly dip into the water and then try to head downwards and see what he can find. If it is deeper than 4 feet.
You quickly find the bottom with your hands. You start to search through the silt as you're moving what feels like 6 to 8 inches of years of dust and dead decay at the bottom of this cavern, the grotto. Slowly you feel a few rocks as you search. You're holding your breath. Everything seems fine. You can feel this fish swimming around you, but they don't seem agitated. They're definitely not attacking. Finally, your hands come upon something not nature built in a way. It's weird. It's an odd way of describing it, but it feels rounded at some points, smooth, but yet with almost pores in it or divots, something small, a roughness to it, but it's smooth at the same time. Rounded, small, not too small, probably the size fit in your palm of your hand, but long, so it takes 2 hands to carry it. That, and you feel a sack. With the sack, you feel this odd box, and then you feel this weirdly light spare dinosaur bone at the bottom. You can't tell whether it's a dragon bone or a dinosaur bone at the time, but for the size of it, it feels oddly light, almost like it's been hollowed out or carved with these other items. And I would imagine as you gather them up into your hands, the fish again swim by your face and nothing happens. You can surface with these items if you'd like.
Can he carry all that in one go?
Sorry, there was somebody at my door, so I missed that. I only heard that I was looking through the Merc and then found something that wasn't nature related. That was kind of like, that was pretty much where I had to leave.
You found what feels like an oddly crafted box with rounded features and a weird, smooth but porous texture to it. You find a sack, but it's so dark that you can't really tell any discerning features about it. And you find this odd bone that's lighter than all of the other bones. And all the other bones seemed attached to the skeleton, but this one seems to be free sunken at the bottom with these other pieces. It feels like it's so light, it feels like it's actually been carved out or hollowed out. And you can surface with those items if you'd like.
Yeah, I will.
As soon as he sees Ilwig sees him carrying all that, he will cast floating disc. It is created 3 feet in diameter and 1 inch thickness, and floats 3 feet above the ground. Will that reach the surface?
Yeah.
And he does so in a position where it does not get obstructed by the bones of the dragon
So
on the way back.
I assume the disc appears close to Bjorn.
Close enough, but in a place where since the disc only moves when Elwi moves and cannot alter his height too much to move have a clear path towards the point where we go down to the pool.
What does it look like? Is it like translucent or?
Okay. It's like a solid plate of let's say bluish, and he will create it greenish so he can kind of bend with the water, but it's clear to the normal side, like a piece of stone or wood.
Okay, well, seeing that weird ass thing appear out of thin air, Bjorn will like surprise and kind of grunts at it, and then have a like kind of stand back a step with all his whatever he found at the bottom of the water, because thinking that maybe he would have sprung another trap from the sinking hole.
Your sudden
What are
movement
you doing?
starts to attract fish from around you. They start to gather in numbers and start to circle you. But after a few seconds of you standing still, they disperse again.
Okay, that was my mistake. That's a platform a disc where you can put all that, and you will move with me when we move out of this place, so we can keep it safe from the fish, and we can move freely.
Cursing in his beard about magic and trickster and disc. Like, you can barely hear what he says, but he's definitely annoyed and just ignores the disc and walks to the bone with the objects he found at the bottom of the water. And then getting out, I will investigate whatever I find, hoping to understand something.
All right, what are Gar and Menace doing at this point?
Gar will probably fly over and just kind of keep an eye on the floating disc and the treasure, just in case somehow any of it falls off. And then I imagine he'll fly back up a little bit and make sure that maybe find Kawasha, see where he is, and then maybe get ready to start hauling this stuff up the cliff.
Just quick, Kawasha would look to you and say, Did your friends find what they came for?
I think so. We're not entirely sure yet.
Go ahead, Menace.
Yeah, Mineski was wrapped her arm around the side of one of these stronger vines, was sort of like leaning almost out slightly from this wall, 10 feet up from the water surface. She sees from the time she saw Björn dive down up until him coming up again, and the interaction between Björn and the wizard. She's taken a vial of a potion of healing, and she's drank that down. Just up until that. That's it.
Cool. Yeah, as you investigate this odd find that you brought up from the bottom of this murky grotto, you realize that the box itself, as the sand and silt starts to fall off it, is actually made from the skulls of two velociraptors cleverly fitted together. The hollow dinosaur bone seems odd. It's small. It has a cap on one end. Definitely seems like it's been hollowed out by hand. The skull box seems, to be, if you sold it, you could probably get 10 to 12 gold on the market. It seems really cool. Inside of it, if you open the box, you find a wand of fear and two large diamonds, each equaling about 500 gold pieces each. The sack itself the silt starts rinsing away from it. It looks like a beautiful little blue coin purse. Once you open that, it contains 550 gold pieces, 800 silver pieces, and 3 blue quartz rings, each equaling 10 gold pieces. The bone, you can tell, must have been what Eloig was feeling with her arcane prowess. It seems odd and strange. What would you like to do with it right now?
I can identify it, but I will require 10 more minutes. It is not a hustle.
All right, Bjorn, it's in your hands. What would you like to do while Eloig throws that offer out?
I'll suggest packing it up and identifying it once we get out of the hole.
Kawasha looks down. I think you said that the disc was starting to float towards the surface?
What I understood was that he ignored the disc and moved with all things in his arms.
Yeah, that's what I did.
So he will use it. If no one uses the disc, he will just dispel it and move along with the group to the surface, away out of the pool.
All right. As Bjorn suggests that you open up or at least figure out what the hollowed out dinosaur bone is when you reach the top of the the walls and everybody's back together outside of the jungle line. Gar already above the surface of the ground again. Menes, I would imagine, do you climb up or do you wait for Bjorn?
I definitely wait for Bjorn. I hope whatever helping moves Menes helps him to do. So she's actually, he was walking slowly through the water as soon as he stood his piranha fish. She would have used the vines to go like horizontal to meet him, so that by the time he came to getting out of the water, she was like, you know, started to climb like 5 feet down to like help him with whatever he needs.
All right, Bjorn, I'll let you take it from here. I will say that the walls are easily scalable. You can describe it as you, with your treasure in hand, make it out with Eloig and Menes up to Kawartha and Gar.
All right. Well, having put all the items he found in his bag, Bjorn kind of makes his way back to the cave wall, and then attaches his harness back to his rope, still hanging down from the top side, and then making his way up. He still kind of slightly glares at the wizard, since he got surprised from the disc he made appear out of nowhere, and he doesn't like to have things he doesn't understand. And then once reaching the top of the hole, he just undoes his rope from the tree he had attached it to it, and then gets him back inside his backpack along with everything else, and then he takes out the items that he had found, and then asks Kawasha to come closer and ask him about the items, if he recognizes anything, especially the bone that seemed to be mysterious in nature.
Yes, that small box made out of velociraptor skulls. That I enjoy that quite much. If you are willing to part with that box, not its contents, just the box, I would be more than interested in purchasing it off of you. He would look at all the other treasure, and his eyes would be wide. He'd be like, "It looks like a very nice little haul." But when it came to the dinosaur, the hollowed out dinosaur bone, he would look just as confused as you are. I do not recognize this or its magic. I can almost not even sense it. Whatever it is, it's ancient.
Sorry, Menes says. She looks towards Bjorn, and then looks towards the guide and says, "What is it that you said that you would like from this?"
The box.
Why?
Yes, that box is well crafted, and the way they fit those skulls together just seems really cool. I would like.
Absolutely, Menes. If it's okay with Bjorn, Menes looks at the box, and she just like studies it. That's just what she does. Is there any inscriptions, or is it just like a normal box cut nice? Or
No, it's just a really cool way to put two skulls together to create something that would carry something else. It just looks like a really neat idea, but there's no other inscriptions, no other feelings of it.
Is it worth anything?
It's gold on the market. Would probably be its value on the market would probably be about 10 to 12 gold.
I would give it off to him if you guys are fine with that.
Your expedition, your call.
All right, so basically, you guys are able to, you pack away the treasure. Do you pack away the hollowed dinosaur bone, or have you figured out what you're going to do with that yet?
Gar will take it if nobody else will.
That's valuable. Of course we want to take that. But it's like, come on, ancient thing.
But we don't know what it is.
Yeah, I mean, of course it's valuable. I'm sure someone's able to identify it. That is, and she looks towards you and says, is your arcane ability strong enough
I cannot understand what he's saying.
You can't understand.
No,
What?
you it's like yeah, you are speaking and a noise does not let me hear you clearly.
Oh, I'll get headphones.
I know we have to wrap this up as quickly as possible, but there's like one or two more things we need to go over. So we'll figure out what's going to go on with this phone, if any of you are going to open it or not, and then we'll do a quick segue out.
Gar opens it.
Gar opens it.
Yeah.
Does Gar have any unnatural weapons?
Like unnatural?
Yeah, like you carry a weapon.
Yeah, I have a quarterstaff and a boomerang and some darts.
What's your favorite one?
My quarterstaff.
As Gar reaches down, takes the hollowed out dinosaur bone from Bjorn's legs, everyone kind of just stares at him. He reaches down and uncorks the end of it. He looks into the hollowed out dinosaur bone and has a questioning tilt to his head. His fingers reach in and he starts to pull something out that is odd and unquestionable. He extends his hands farther and farther apart from each other, pulling this staff out of this bone. He feels a magic vibe to it as he holds it in his hands, and the bone turns a shade of gray and falls to the ground. It's a +1 quarterstaff.
Cool.
And it seems like the magic has left the hollowed out dinosaur bone.
Cool. Good for you, man.
So as Kawasha looks to you all and says, "It is time that we left now. It shouldn't be that hard. The water from the river will be flowing out. It'll be with us instead of against us. We should make our way back to Ordomé. We should get out of this place before anything attacks us."
Absolutely.
You guys make it through the jungle in about a day and a half. You make it up the river in about another day and a half. It takes you 3 days to get back to Ordomé's boat. Oddly, on the third day, Kawasha looks to you all. "Why have you not told me about what you found with the dragon?"
What do you mean?
"Well, you must have at least studied its skull."
It's called.
But didn't you know that's how you tell what a dragon was?
We didn't. We only followed the wizard's advice, saying that there was some magic at the center of the hole.
Well, if you ever find another dragon skeleton, make sure to lift the skull. You'll find more than you bargained for, but in a good way. As you get back onto the boat with Ordomé, she looks at all of you, she smiles. "Oh, you're all safe then. That's good. I'm glad to see you. Did you have a good time? Did you make some money?"
Elwick, half offended, salutes the captain and goes up to help in whatever the crew is meeting, and musters under his breath or whispers, "No one validates my effort. These adventures are just," and continues.
Gar kind of kicks himself for not having thought of checking underneath the dragon skull. And it was probably clear that would have been the best. That's what it would have guarded with the last of its life and would have laid its head down on as it died. And now Gar realizes his mistake too late.
Manez says to you, "What troubles you guys is you kick this thing to the side."
Well, Kawashi, we probably missed more, possibly even than what we found, if we had investigated the skull of that dragon a little bit more.
Oh, there is not treasure there, my friend, just knowledge. But knowledge is worth more than money.
And she nods, and she thumps you softly on the chest with a fist, just like this, and she says, "We could always go back." And then she turns and yeah, we're on the boat now, right? Yeah, she turns and makes her way over to two of the sailors, beginning conversation with them, with her preparation for leaving afterwards.
As you guys make your way, as Ortome makes her way back to the Bay of Chult, you spend the days that go by talking about what could have happened. Knowing this knowledge now is at least better than never knowing it. The study of dragon skulls is not well known. Kawasha only admits after a couple of days that the only reason he knows about it is because it's a study of the druids, and they know the ancient lore of the dragons, but they thought at least with a wizard, or sorry, a caster with you, somebody would have at least checked it. He apologizes for being late on the information, but kind of smiles deep down in his druid knowledge that more people aren't attuned to nature than they should be. As you round the northern pike of the top of Chult, Ortome looks to Menez. So, what are you going to do this time?
Same way in, same way out, she says as we lower the boat into the water, and she bids farewell to the rest of her friends, and sails to the side of the shore.
Are the rest of you going to stay with Ortome, or are any of you going to go with Menez?
Gar probably will follow Menez to the shore. Just, kind of helping row a little bit and guide, just to make sure that Menez makes it to shore okay. And then he'll lean in and it's like, we have that one thing coming up soon. Preparations are underway.
She nods.
Norn?
I'll stay aboard ship, but do give a warm tap on Menace's back and tell her that we'll see each other sooner than later.
Absolutely. And she says, "Thanks, my friend. Last time we went on the expedition, we most of our resources and came back with nothing. At least now we've have something to show for it." And she says, "I'll see you soon. You take care of yourself, okay? And as for that drink," and she smiles, and she looks towards Eloig, and she says, he bows slightly towards him, towards Eloig, and says, "I hope to journey with you again."
He nods, but it's more like respect than a deep connection. He's not. He's like being around, but he's not engaging in the conversations.
All right. As Menez disembarks, Ortome makes her way through the Bay of Chult. Arameg comes up to the boat, demanding his pittance. What do you offer?
Have we paid Ortome?
Not yet.
What does she ask?
Ortome sat for like 8 days. I think she wants $5 a day, so it's that 40 gold.
Okay. I would guess 150 gold to Iron Mag, I guess. What are you guys thinking?
I think we got those 3 blue quartz rings that were 50 gold each. Is that right?
10 gold each.
10 gold each.
Oh,
Well, I was thinking we could just throw those 3 over for him, but we probably need to add some gold to that.
okay. So I'll throw in 150 gold in the water.
All right. As you throw the money into the water, you have to also kind of ask Arameg's permission to go. So just he's a little bit angry with his day's haul so far. Roll a persuasion check for me at advantage because you paid enough.
Advantage is useful as I rolled the 2 and the 16. So persuasion, yeah, that's it. 16.
Arameg accepts your pittance and moves on to the next ship coming in. You guys come into the shore. You see the Flaming Fist waiting at the dock. Oddly, Arameg says they couldn't have known Menace was with us this time. Geez, I wonder what the heck they want. And as you pull up to the dock, the first Flaming Fist shouts from the docks, "Charter, please. Make sure you have your charter ready." Now, Ordame pulls the boat to the dock. Her crew starts sending the ropes down. They tie off. The sails are all tied. Finally starts going to work to clean up the boat. Ordame looks to you. Well, might as well show him the charter. Get out of here. It's good again, guys.
Did anybody buy a charter?
I asked for that in the chat.
I just want to know one thing, just out of gameplay.
Elwick will have
Did
paid the chat.
we buy the money before I left you guys? Because
Come on, Ian.
no way.
Jesus Christ.
I'll allow you guys to do that in the chat after the game. Don't worry about it.
Okay, cool.
Elwig, did you say that you'll buy a charter or that you already have one?
Yeah, I mean, I asked that in the chats. So basically, if no one claimed that, he would have paid for the chart.
All right, so Elwig hands the Flaming Fist as they board Ordame's boat, the charter. Well, at least you have one of these. That's good. So, half your treasure. Hand it over.
I'll say ain't found nothing except that, and throw the hollowed bone that has encryption on it, right? Even though the magic seemed like it faded away.
Give me a persuasion check.
Can I do intimidation instead?
Yeah.
I'm kind of.
There's about 15 to 20 of them, but you can do an intimidation. Yeah.
Charles, you might want to read intimidation before you suggest doing it.
So I got 14.
Well, this is a nice bone and all, but gold. Come on, what'd you get? Everyone tries to say nothing. You always have something. Come on, what is it?
Gar will point over at the nicely crafted box that Kawashi is holding. Like, we also found that.
Oh wow!
We found bones and water.
What do you mean? What box? Bones and water. Come on. Where's Menez? We had a scout. They saw her with you. Hand her over, and we'll leave the treasure alone.
Menez? I haven't seen Menez in a while. She's not on the boat.
Search the boat.
Sorry. Wait. How did he spell that phrase? Can you repeat it?
Yeah. I'll summarize, but I'll do my best. We had a scout that saw her. We know she's with you. Hand over Menez, and we'll leave the treasure alone. as Bjorn.
So how does Elwick still have the exhaustion level? We were how many days in the boat?
She's Elvig's aware that there's, everyone's starting to search the boat now. Is that what you're asking?
No. Does he has an exhaustion level still, or has he recovered?
You still have exhaustion.
Okay. He wants to get an idea of he's lying, or if there is something more of what he's saying.
Insight.
Insight is +1. $15.
No, you can tell that his information that he believes he has is true. That he knows that Menez was at least with you. He's not sure.
Yeah, but can he get that? He got the information before we go out, or if someone saw him in the ship when we were arriving.
Someone saw all of you in the bush around the cavern into the ground.
Okay. So he will say that we lose contact on him when we were going back.
Oh, so Mitty was with you, huh? Where'd you drop her off?
I mean, he I was trying to snatch him, but he escaped.
Well, was he your prisoner or what? What? I don't get it.
I mean that money was very interesting. I mean, you offer very good amount of cash for a reward, and I was trying to get it, but I couldn't stop him.
And with that, he would just roll his eyes at you, and he would look back to Bjorn, and he would say, "Treasure."
Bjorn, feeling like he's had way enough of the flaming fist, and like trying to make his best to contain his frustration, but seeing as this guy is just insisting, he's gonna say, "Fuck you and your treasure. That's all we got. If you want anything else, well, you gotta find it somewhere else."
He would look at you for a few minutes, or at least it would feel like a few minutes as he just stared right into your face. After what felt like a few minutes, he would look to you and say, "All right, well, looks like you just made the list." And he would, after a couple of more minutes went by, all of his men would start to come up throughout the bows of the boat and say that they weren't able to find Menace. And he would just be staring at you the whole time, waiting for all of his men to clear off the boat.
Royal you or only him?
I'm sorry, go ahead one more time.
Royal you, I mean, all of us or just him?
No, he's just staring at Bjorn at this point from what Bjorn, the statement that he came out of his mouth. And he's just looking at him, not almost in a smirky pride, like, you just really screwed the pooch, buddy. And he starts to back away from you, not losing eye contact at all. And he's like, "You had a choice. You should have taken it." And he starts to walk away.
Have we divide the treasure already in the boat? My character will ask for
I
that.
guess we did beforehand when Menace left, so we'll figure that out later in chat, but we probably have already split it.
He will move away, and my character, and when he's outside, he would just go and pay his part in the office directly on the farming first.
How would you explain what you're doing as you pay them a portion?
That I hide. I found an amount of cash in the trip, but I did not tell the others. So I just don't want the border of the flaming fist bothering me. So paying the cash and move away.
Yeah, okay. They'll accept it. They'll laugh. And then they'll stare at you with devilish eyes as you walk away. That's about it, guys. Unless anybody has something else they want to do. I had fun. I know it ran a little bit late, but I had a really good time. So, anybody?
Excellent.
Oh,
Thank
it
you.
was-
Yep.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. Thanks, Dan.
Yeah,
Yep.
thanks. Really cool.
All right, guys. Thanks a lot for joining us, and hopefully you had another fun time watching a game from the Annihilation. See you later.